All right, well, welcome everybody to the Goodell Multiverse podcast. I am one of your hosts, Sam Goodell, and joining me, of course,
Isaiah Goodell.
Yep, we are the Goodell Brothers, and so we are into now our second episode of the Goodell Multiverse. The first one was kind of like an intro, so welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, we're just getting started, so be patient with us, but we're going to have a good time doing this for sure.
Yeah, hope you like our little show, and let's get started. We're going to start some things off here with a little bit. Hope you can see this on the screen. If you are just listening to us on audio, we do have a video version of this that we're trying to do, but in case for some reason we don't, audio is the best place to get it.
Yeah.
But our little agenda for today, we're going to talk about some Marvel news that's come out. And then we are going to segue from that into the Spider-Man trailer breakdown that we've done. It's nothing much. There's plenty of other people out there that are going to break this down like as a career to do. But we're going to give our 2 cents on what we saw. And then we have, we have our retrospect, our main topic today, the retrospect of Iron Man 1. So
exciting.
Yes, so let me just begin here.
All right, Marvel news.
So this isn't just, since this is our first time doing News of the Week, all it really is going to be is talk about, and briefly, what has come out officially from Marvel or from Walt Disney or from Sony, whoever, or even Warner Brothers, soon to be Paramount. But it's just to say what's come out, and we'll give our 2 cents about it. So some of these things actually came out, or I know the first one came out like the beginning of March. At the time of this recording, it's March 21st, so we're just getting started with it though. So the first thing is Ryan Reynolds has confirmed that he is in early development of Deadpool 4. The second news that came out is Ryan Gosling confirms he's had complicated talks with Marvel about playing the MCU's Ghost Rider. And then the third thing that's come out that we'll discuss is the future of the MCU for their film schedule. Walt Disney has officially added and adjusted the future MCU film dates post-Secret Wars. So now we have May 5th, 2028, July 28th, 2028, December 16th, 2028, May 4th, 2029, and July 13th, 2029. So, Ike, what's your 2 cents on any of these things?
Any of those. Well, let's start with Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool, since that's the first one you said. This is exciting. Obviously, I'll take a Deadpool movie. I think anybody would. We like Deadpool. We think it's a good time. I think my thoughts of the whole thing is I'm curious to see the direction they go with Deadpool. If they decide to keep him in the Marvel Universe, and we have a legit Marvel movie with Deadpool in this universe, or if he's still in the universe but he's got his own side story going on, because what's very successful about Deadpool is how vulgar he is and how crazy it can get, and those work for his movies. But anytime we see him, I feel like possibly anytime we see him in a proper MCU movie, not just the one he did with Wolverine, which was still his titled movie, it's going to be watered down a little. We're not going to have the swearing and the gore and all the fun stuff that make it special and fun to watch. So I feel like a PG-13 full Deadpool movie is not what people are going to want. So we're going to want a rated R. So they might, if it's a side story that's a lot of fun, that'd be great. Let's do that. If it's him in the MCU, then it might be a little boring. And I think we need to always take into account that financially, the first Deadpool did really well. The second Deadpool also did really well, but critically got a lot of, kind of crap for it. Personally, I liked the second one a lot more than most, I think. And Deadpool Wolverine made as much as it did because it's Wolverine. I never underestimate the power of Hugh Jackman, and never underestimate the power of that character that he plays. How long has he been playing Wolverine? Over 20 years, right? And it's pretty amazing. And then he gets to come back and play Wolverine like he did. He plays almost every version you could think of under the sun in one movie almost. And that's why I went and watched it. I went and watched it for Deadpool as well. but it's Wolverine and the prospect of X-Men. Holy cow, man. I was there for, how many times did we see it? I think I saw it 3 times in theaters, I watched it a couple times now since it's been out digital. So I think that it will depend on if we get a number 4, a Deadpool 5 will depend on how well 4 does. I don't think that the mass, if you're looking for a $1 billion movie, I don't think Deadpool 4 will be a $1 billion movie. Unless you're including MCU heavy stuff. But if you get too heavy with MCU, like I said, you got to dim it down a little bit because that's not proper MCU. So that's my thoughts on that.
My thoughts would be, I agree with what you're saying wholeheartedly about it. Deadpool, to me, he's kind of a niche character when he started off. He's great character in the comics, and turning him into live action, it was really a stroke of genius on how Ryan Reynolds and the people at Fox at the time were able to pull it off. Yeah. From my understanding, and I might be wrong, but please correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that Deadpool was the first, besides, of course, Hugh Jackman's Wolverine solo flicks, the first, part of Marvel, part of the mutants that got his own solo movie, besides, of course, Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. He was one of the breakouts, I would say. Even though Ryan Reynolds appeared as Deadpool in X-Men Origins Wolverine, and everyone kind of does not like that movie at all, but they would say that was perfect casting, and so it made sense to continue on and build upon the good stuff about it. What I'll say about the Deadpool films in particular is the first movie was very jaw-dropping. It was a rated R movie. They were not afraid to be a little meta about it, pushing the envelope. Ryan Reynolds, of course, does a great job. He has star power, mass appeal to everybody, and so it made sense that movie was like a surprise hit to people who didn't expect it or didn't even know who Deadpool was and just found out about him. So obviously it became a success. The sequel, Deadpool 2, I liked it. I thought it was a good movie, great story, but I think that's when you start to see how far can Deadpool go on a solo outing, especially for a second time. Like I said, I don't think it was bad, but I do know there were some critiques about it that were not so pleasant. But then we had this huge hiatus, and so whatever they did plan for Deadpool 3, and we don't know, a lot of us are just speculating on what someone says in an interview, what Ryan was thinking, things like that, but it never came to fruition, so we can't say what the Fox's Deadpool 3 movie would be, although we knew they were making one. But Disney bought Fox, then Deadpool was one of the first things that Kevin Feige said, we're going to get out there, it's going to happen. And it kind of organically, in its own way, became the first mutant MCU movie without even actually getting to the actual X-Men of the MCU yet, It was, and I would attribute the success of Deadpool and Wolverine to the factors of the first mutant movie in the MCU, a long hiatus since the second one, so there's a much build-up and anticipation from fans, and then just having the Wolverine name on it with Hugh Jackman. He is a box office draw for a lot of people, and he's the OG X-Men. You can arguably say he was the first one that kind of kickstarted the mutants in the first X-Men movie. He was the breakout star of that movie for a reason, and so I think all those factors added and made Deadpool and Wolverine the over $1 billion success that it became. Now, seeing a Deadpool 4, what direction are they going to go? Are they going to build off of this momentum? Or are we going to see a little bit of what happened with Deadpool 2? Maybe it's going to go down a little bit. Well, we don't know what direction that Ryan Reynolds is planning on taking this. My personal opinion is he did such a great job with Deadpool and Wolverine. I want to see a trilogy of Deadpool with another hero, because he is a great character to play off of different types of heroes like a Spider-Man or Incredible Hulk or things like that. So I would be curious to see that, because one of my fears is the audience is not going to be as palpable to a solo Deadpool movie without something else in it. I don't know. You're trying to reach a broader audience, and for Marvel's first rated R movie, they did a great job, but I don't know how long they can maintain that.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said. I think pairing him up with other characters in the MCU and still making it a hard R and fun would really make it a good time. And because then you can have that side story that could tie into the rest, but not so hardcore where, let's say, you don't want to take your young child to see the movie. They can still continue to watch the MCU, and then later on might appreciate it more because they get a little more from that. I will say this, and this might be kind of a hot take about Deadpool in this. I know we don't want to stay on one topic too long, but I will say this right away, that I think this is going to show whether they really know what to do with Deadpool or not. Because the first movie was a given. Everybody wanted it. And Ryan, sorry Ryan, but he leaked out that footage. And we all know he did. And whoever did, wink wink. Which was the most brilliant thing to do, which is great. If someone told him to do it, it was brilliant, And the footage got him into that first movie. And the first movie's great. And the second movie is good, but it did get a lot of crap. I would say the second movie's better than the first, in my opinion. Only because it extends on the character, has a lot of fun, and I love Josh Brolin as Cable. I thought he was awesome.
Oh, I agree.
And I think the action in it was top-notch. I loved the cameos. It went the distance, and it wasn't scared. But it also shown, though, it wasn't exactly what everybody wants. Now, it was safe to do Deadpool Wolverine. Safe.
Yeah.
Because first of all, it's Deadpool. There's butts and seats right there. And now it's X-Men stuff. It's not just X-Men stuff, but it's the return of Hugh Jackman's Wolverine and the possible promise of X-Men from before. And when you watch that movie, you realize that this was Marvel's way of being able to experiment how far they could push their multiverse stuff. Because no matter what, the movie was going to make a lot of money. So I think they knew they were going to win. The movie could have sucked, and they still would have had a great opening, and it wouldn't have been... I still think, even if the movie was real bad, I still think people would have went back and rewatched it. So they went crazy. They threw Elektra in there, and they threw Gambit in there, the one that we've always thought. They threw Blade in there, which ultimately really could have really stunk up the show big time. And then when you watch it, you're like, this is the best thing I've seen in a long time. And that's when Marvel's... I don't think we'd have Doomsday and Secret Wars coming up the way they're doing them right now if that wasn't successful or wasn't received well. Because I think it financially was going to make it. So now here we are. There's no tool anymore. There's no backdrop. There's no net. So you got to make a Deadpool movie that it's either going to be rated R or not. Rated R is the easier way to go. Not rated R is the harder way to go. And what's the experiment you're going to do with it now? It's going to be just back to like what we got out of the first two, because that's where they might lose their money, and you see them kind of start to scramble.
Yeah. And one thing that I forgot to mention as part of the litany that I just said of why it succeeded in making as much money the way they did, and then completely evade my brain until, as you were talking, it came to my mind. That was the only Marvel movie of that whole year. In 2024.
Definitely helped it a lot.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm not saying that's the reason why it made so much money. Obviously, there's a whole bunch of other factors we just talked about. But it does help when the market is not saturated at that time with superhero movies and what people would call superhero fatigue. The only movie in 2024 from Marvel, it turned out to be Deadpool and Wolverine. And it was a blockbuster hit. There's no denying and can't take away that credit. But it was the only movie.
Yeah.
So... It's there's a whole bunch of factors there, but to wrap this part up, we're gonna go see it. We're gonna be excited to see what the heck's gonna happen. So.
I'll be able to watch it. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. All right. The second part, Ryan Gosling talking about Ghost Rider. Apparently, he appeared on a podcast. I don't know what the title of it is at the moment, but he confirmed that he had talks with Marvel Studios about portraying Ghost Rider, and he ended the little tidbit that he gave us with saying it's a complicated situation. So, what are your thoughts on Ryan Gosling? What are your thoughts on Ghost Rider and him becoming potentially Ghost Rider?
Sure you want me to go first? Yeah, who cares? And this is why I say this. Gosling's a great actor. He'd be fantastic to get. I don't think you're going to get him for multiple movies, though. I think he's a guy who wants an Academy Award. I think he wants, right now, he's in the middle of building his face recognition and making these really good, big friendly, pleasing movies that do kind of end up on the award circuit. He just got done doing that Hail Mary movie. I'm personally not that interested in it. I will watch it, but I'm sure it's great, and I'm not. I'm only not interested in it because it just doesn't feel like my cup of tea. I'm sure it's a great movie. It seems great, and he looks great in it. My thing is when it comes down to Ghost Rider, is Marvel has a problem right now, and their problem is how they're handling their magic, and how they're handling the supernatural. And if they can't get Blade off the ground, then how the hell are they going to get Ghost Rider off the ground? And him saying it's complicated makes me think, okay, so we're going to sign Ryan Reynolds, and then 8 years later tell him he's not going to do it. Because that's pretty much what we just did with Blade. It's with Marvel, I don't believe it until I see posters, and it's more of a talk. Like when okay, that's obviously happening. Because, we had Mahershala Ali come out on stage as Blade. And now here we are in a time where it's not happening. The movie's not going to happen. I don't care what rumors there are. I don't care if he still says short. It's not happening, guys. And why it's not happening is because Marvel doesn't know what to do with it. And it's a hot take that I will argue all day about, because my biggest complaint about the multiverse saga that we're in right now is, what does that mean? And every 10 minutes they're changing something around. I was excited. It got me. It's let me down too many times to where, now that means nothing, this means nothing, and this magic doesn't mean this, and this magic might mean that. And anybody can use this one, but we're not going to talk about it. And it's like, well, yeah, until they get those parameters figured out, where does Ghost Rider even fit anyways?
No, I agree. I agree. And to piggyback off of what you said, I like Ryan Gosling. I think he's a great actor, and I definitely can tell within the past couple of years that his star has definitely started to shine a little bit brighter with the Barbie movie, Project Hail Mary, that's out right now, and there's a couple others that he's been in recently, I guess. I don't know on the top of my head, but he's coming back around, because I think, from my understanding, wasn't he in The Notebook?
Yep.
And that's how he got his breakout role in the Disney Mickey Mouse Club with a whole bunch of other A-list people that we could talk. Well, not that we're going to talk about, but he was one of Justin Timberlake, Christina Aguilera, Britney Spears. There's that club had some pretty big names nowadays. But anyways,
he's pretty famous for the guy behind the scenes all the time and Remember the Titans. He's got a great face, and he's had a good career. Just over the last 6 or 7 years, I can't see him locking in on one thing that dark either. He wants to be a Leo. He doesn't want to be. Robert Downey Jr. is cool with this kind of stuff. He don't mind. This is his big second chance kind of thing. We'll talk about later. Yeah. But Ryan Gosling, he wants the awards, man, and it's not going to be through Ghost Rider.
Yeah. Well, what I would also say personally about the Ghost Rider situation, Nicolas Cage killed it as Ghost Rider. He was great. Good casting. He's a great actor. I would love to see him again as it. The problem with Ghost Rider, though, is that his first movie was a success because his origin is really cool origin. And I don't remember too much of the first movie other than when I was younger and I watched it, I thought it was really cool. The second movie went downhill fast.
I agree.
The reason why, and I'm sorry to any Ghost Rider fans that are out there, but he doesn't get that interesting after a while.
No.
His origin, fantastic. He does great, I feel, in more of an ensemble thing, like Midnight Suns proved very well in the comics, which had Blade, which had the Black Knight, and some of these other characters. Some people, character-wise, just do great with other characters in it. I feel like Ghost Rider, if Marvel announces a Ghost Rider film, I know the first one's going to be good if they're doing his origin. I'll be scared to find out what they're planning on for a sequel if it's not going to up the ante, because we've seen what a sequel looks like, and I'm sorry, it just was not that good.
Personally, I want a Blade, Ghost Rider, Punisher, hardcore road trip romp where they're just killing supernatural beasts.
Midnight Suns. That's what exactly I want. Like it. Yep.
We don't need their origin, or we don't need their single movie. They wouldn't do good anymore with a single movie. All three of those characters. Just give us a really cool, kick-ass, rated R, fun, let's do this. And then let them show up sprinkled in across the MCU as well. And hire him young. Get a young Ghost Rider, someone that's going to come back. Someone we can use later on for some fun stuff. Yeah. We don't need Ryan. Ryan's a great guy, but it wouldn't be a forever thing. It wouldn't be ongoing. So
I agree. All right, well, the third thing to wrap up the news of the week type thing is Walt Disney has officially added and adjusted their future MCU layout for the films post Secret War, so after 2027. I'll just throw some of the dates out there that they've done, and they've done a little bit of shuffling. I don't know on the top of my head what date actually moved, but I know they added dates. So we have, of course, the Star of the Summer on May 5th, 2028, and then you have right in the middle of the summer, July 28th, 2028. Then to wrap it up at the end of the year in December, another December one, which Marvel's not used to doing. Doomsday's the first time, from my understanding, and I might be wrong, but I feel like Doomsday's the first time a December of MCU proper. Like, I'm not counting Spider-Man No Way Home. I know that was December, but that's a Sony movie that MCU was part of, or it's part of the MCU. But December 16th, 2028, and then of course jumping back into the next year with the similar dates, the beginning of the summer, May 4th, 2029, and July 13th, 2029. So we're not going to touch too much on this because all they are is placeholder dates for right now. They're subject to change. We're going to know more things within the next year, I'm sure, as there's rumors are going to go around and official casting is being done, all that stuff. But what are the first 2 or 3 movies on top of your head you think are going to be?
Yeah, right off the bat, it's common for a studio doing a big multiversal thing, or not multiverse, I'm sorry, but it's common for a studio doing a franchise, I should say, to set aside dates for future stuff. So this could mean almost nothing, Yeah. But if I were to guess, I think somewhere in there is a Fantastic Four 2. I think somewhere in there is an X-Men movie, probably earlier on, because I think that's going to be their launching pad into the next phase after we get done with the multiverse, is to do their own X-Men, which I'm excited and not. I'm a 50-50. It's like we're going to go crazy about it. You'll see.
Yeah.
And I think I'll even throw it out there. I wouldn't be surprised if we get another Thor. If he survives through the next Avengers movie.
Well, it sounds like from what Chris Hemsworth has talked about before is that Thor's story is not done, and even Kevin Feige, and I'm not sure what capacity he said this, if this was an offhanded comment or if this is officially noted down, but they're not done with Thor yet. So that makes me optimistic that we're going to see finally a Thor 5, maybe Thor 6, and he's going to be one of those legacy characters that everyone loves no matter what, and he's just going to continue on. So
maybe an oddball out there to throw out that would be kind of a cool thing to see, which I think everyone's already forgotten about, which I wish they didn't, is maybe another Eternals, if the MCU's even considering them to be in there anymore.
Yeah.
Because right now the only thing from the Eternals that we've kept is Arishem coming out of the ocean. Other than that, they kind of want us to forget about him, and that kind of sucks because I like that movie.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm going to say this too, just to help wrap this up, that Eternals is probably, I would say, of the newer Marvel movies since Endgame, the most underrated movie.
Yep.
It's gotten some unnecessary crap. We've rewatched it a couple of times, and let me tell you, it's a good movie.
It's pretty good.
It's just a good movie, and
it's different, but it's good.
It's different, but different in a good way. Yep. And I every time I watch it, I enjoy it more. All right, well, that's the news for right now. So, Spider-Man, brand new day. We watched it a couple days ago. The trailer is really, really cool. And so my brother here wants to talk about a few scenes. The first scene is right at the very beginning of the trailer with Spider-Man. It appears he's either hanging upside down or it's the way the camera is. But I'll let you take it away and describe.
From what I see, it's him sitting, like you're sitting on a beam in the city, and he's upside down because he's a spider. But he's just like sitting like normal, so it looks it's already kind of a cool thing, and it's just a great shot. And I think it was it's gonna, and there'll be another scene that we'll talk about here soon. One thing that does speak to the trailer is right off the bat, I'm like, oh wow, cinematography is awesome, and his suit is that bright blue and bright red to that gray kind of city in the background. And so right off the bat, I'm like, this looks better already. This looks new.
Yeah.
Looks like I haven't seen this before.
Yeah.
So, and I'm digging it. I love the shot. I love how it pans over above him, and it's great. It's I love it when he's upside down. Anyways, anytime where you see him doing something that a normal person does, but because he's a spider, he can do it in different ways. I've always had a good time with, especially this Spider-Man for sure.
Yeah.
So that's really all I wanted to point out with that one, because it's going to speak to the cinematography of it, which another one later will be. It's brief because it's for that reason.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say for my personal view is, what I love about the scene is how muted everything looks, except it's clear that the focus is on him.
Yeah.
It's not too bright, not too flashy, all the stuff behind him, so it distracts you. And I kind of hope that the tone of that movie is this way, because this is the first time we're seeing a fourth Spider-Man movie with the same iteration of a Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And Tom Holland is just amazing. You could tell he's grown into this role, and I'm curious to see the post high school version of Peter Parker for the first time and seeing what that's gonna look like. And that image right there from the very beginning of the trailer definitely looks like we're gonna get that. All right, so the next picture here that we're gonna talk about is, it looks like almost a naked Tom Holland falling out of a web cocoon, and he's realizing for the first time he's got organic webs. We think. Yep. It looks pretty much like he's got it. Yeah. He got Tobey Maguired. Now, what do you think about this?
I love it.
Yeah.
What I like about this is, as you see as the trailer progresses, to get to this point, it's him, he's looking at MJ and all them, and he's missing out, and he sees their life is going forward, and he's growing up. So I like that with him growing up, watching everybody else grow up, that his mutation from whatever happened to him is growing up as well. And as you hear throughout the trailer, this whole idea of, a spider goes in 3 different, life cycles and all that fun stuff. So what I like about this is it kind of grounds this back to what we never got in the first 3, which was an actual issue, or not necessarily issue, but an actual problem or something that focuses around his actual abilities. Mm-hmm. When in the original, like with Toby and them, we did get that a little bit and it was okay, but it kind of felt played out weird. But this feels like the perfect time to do it, and I say that because this is one of the things that makes me feel like, wow, we've seen 3 movies of his now, of Tom Holland's Spider-Man. This trailer, specifically in this scene and moving forward as we go, I feel like we're watching a different Spider-Man all of a sudden, and it's like a new trilogy. Which has gone with my theory about how, the first 3 Tom Holland Spider-Man movies are 3 movies of a actual origin story in 3 movies, to now we have really Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. So it's like he's a young spider that can't make webs, and now he's turning into a young adult spider that can make webs. And that, I'm in for that ride, because that means... I hope we don't go too wild on the other stuff in his life. Mm-hmm. I like that it's there. I like that the MJ stuff is there. I like that he's worried about who he is. But I hope the movie really does focus a lot on what he's becoming, more so than those things. Because I think we got more movies to come from this. Oh yeah. So save that other stuff for when that builds. But let's have fun with Spider-Man this time. And that looks like that's kind of what's happening, and that's what makes me excited about that.
Well, I'll say, to piggyback off of what you just said, and I completely agree with you wholeheartedly, I like your little synopsis kind of what this means, because it actually makes me a little more hopeful seeing what we're going to see next from this. Where, the first trilogy, he's, like you said, kind of like a young spider, and now he's growing, just as Peter Parker is growing up, and things like that. So I think that's really cool to put that in perspective. I also love that Tom Holland is young when they got him, and he's dedicated to the role. So all that is really cool, because it's sometimes I know an actor, after they've been doing the same thing for so long, they're like, oh, I'm going to be stereocast or typecast, all this stuff. He's soaking it all up because he knows what he is. So that's awesome.
Agreed.
Yeah, so I'm excited to see that. That scene did surprise me, because I know we heard rumors about, they're going to do this, not going to do this, but you only take rumors as they are, as a rumor, grain of salt. We heard 3 different versions of No Way Home, and then what we got of No Way Home was by far better than anything we had heard of before.
My only hopes is we don't get the giant mutated were-spider that we got in the comic books. I don't think they're going to go that direction, but hey, you never do know. That to me would be a step too far.
That would be, I agree. Yeah. All right, so the next scene we'll talk about is the clip that we have here of Bruce Banner, Professor Banner, looking at Tom Holland, or Peter Parker, saying, "Who are you again?"
Mm-hmm. So back when we heard the rumors that he was going to be in this movie, my first thought at the time was, oh man, how do you do Hulk in a Spider-Man movie where the Hulk just doesn't dominate the whole movie? And then now we see in the trailer that he's not Hulk, which is question number 1. So I'm very interested to see what the possibilities are of why he's not Hulk. Yeah, when I've watched the trailer a couple times now, I noticed that he has a device on his hand. Mm-hmm. Maybe he's figured out a way to go back and forth, or suppress the Hulk completely, and why he'd want to. And the last time we left the Hulk, why would he feel like he has to? So I don't know. I'd like, and maybe they won't answer those, but I think that they're going to need to touch on that a little bit. It's a good person for Peter to go to with his problem, because there's a guy dealing with a mutation he has. And out of everybody, he's going to be the one that he doesn't know Peter Parker's Spider-Man right now, but it's going to be easy to convince him because Mark has played the part well, where it's like nothing sounds too crazy for everything they've been through. So Peter approaching him saying, by the way, I'm Peter and I'm Spider-Man, and you'd know this, but I erased your memory before. He's going to be like, yeah, it makes sense. It tracks with everything we've done in our life. You know what I mean? So I'm going to believe you. You know what I mean? And obviously you can prove it to him as well. And he's going to be the first to be like, well, I'm going to help you out, because I think he's going to see sympathy in him, knowing that it's scary to have something going on in you that you don't know what it is or how to control it or what to do with it. And I like that it's Ruffalo and not the Hulk. I really do. I'm just curious to see how they got there with it, is where my mind goes.
Yeah, I agree with what you said there. I think from my understanding, and I've watched this trailer a couple times since our first reaction to it, and that I was wondering too, all right, how is he Bruce Banner?
Yeah.
But as I think back about what we've seen from Bruce since Endgame, in the She-Hulk show, I know he had a device that kept him to be Bruce, because he had a hard time, I wouldn't say balancing it, because at that point he already had put both of them together, but I think he said he was, if I remember right, he was going through something, so that kept him stable. That's why when the car crash happened in the She-Hulk pilot and it broke, he hulked out too.
Yeah.
Just like Jennifer Walters eventually did too. But so I think if we watch the trailer, you catch that he has that device again. So that could be why. I'm sure as we see the actual movie and more things come out and all that, we'll know more definitively, because that's kind of like the thing they're jumping off back and forth of, is he Hulk, is he not Hulk, is he smart Hulk, is he what Hulk?
Yeah,
so,
what's that mean, right?
Yeah, and there's rumor in this movie that he is going to turn back into the Savage Hulk, which in our next episode we're going to talk about the Incredible Hulk. That was one of the last times, not the last time of course, but one of the last times that we saw like a full Hulk movie that he was Savage Hulk type thing. So we've seen him since then as Savage Hulk, but only, of course, because of his rights issue in other films. But
I just don't know if it's necessary for this movie. But once again, we don't know what the movie's going to be.
Yeah.
You might need him. I just think I would be okay with him just being Bruce the whole time and the guy he goes to talk to.
Yeah.
I don't think we even need him. I don't even think we even need to see the Hulk. I know people go like, what? But hey, I mean, why do you have to, right? It's we'll see, maybe not. I think it should be as close to Spider-Man's vest as possible.
Yeah, well, what I'll say about that too is we already know of some of these characters are going to be in the movies, and then we have some characters like Sadie Sink. We still have no idea who the heck she's playing. So one of my worries has always been how...
Seems like the internet knows who.
Yeah. I'm praying not. But anyways, when you oversaturate a movie with so many different characters, especially big characters like the Hulk, and you already have the Punisher, and it looks like the Hand we're going to be talking about soon, and some of these other characters, be like, this is a Spider-Man movie, so let's see how much we could keep it just a Spider-Man movie. They could do it with all these characters, but I agree with you. If we don't get the Hulk himself in this movie, will we get Bruce Banner? That's fine too, because guys, this is a Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
So, anyways, there's that scene, and the next scene that we'll show is another character we just touched upon.
Yeah.
Is the Punisher.
Yep.
So, what are your thoughts?
I had to do some thinking on this one, because my first initial thought was, hold on, if I don't know who the Punisher is from TV because I don't watch the TV shows, then who's this guy? And how's he know Spider-Man? Of course, and this is just me doing assumptions off of how they might do a whole beginning part of the movie where Spider-Man says, oh yeah, and I met this guy, and he's this guy, and this guy, and that guy, and I know him now, and then there we are, and we're good to go. And I'm just thinking, way overthinking it. But then I also thought to myself, we don't really need to introduce the Punisher in an origin way. Just have him be there, street-level kind of guy. What I like about the tone of it, though, is they are buddies-ish. Not really buddies, but first-name basis. Clearly not the first time they've run into each other, which I like. Which makes me feel like Spider-Man is tapped into the street level of Marvel, of the street level people. which also makes me think the theory is I really think if you're going to throw Daredevil in this movie, if you're going to put him in any of them for the fun of it, I think the last quarter of this movie should be the three of them kicking the crap out of whoever the heck they have to kick the crap out of.
Yeah.
I would love to see Spider-Man kind of help those lower level fighters. They all kind of come together and just see this really cool. I'd rather see that than the Hulk show up. Truthfully, and I think that there's an argument to say that might be what we're seeing at the end. But we'll get to that picture when we get there. No, I like it. I think it's perfect. He's going to get the edgy stuff. He'll get the swear words of the movie. I think there's going to be good comedy there. I am of the camp that my Punisher is Thomas Jane, but I like John Barenthal's Punisher as well. I think he's great. I still wish they'd have played more on the Punisher that I got back in the 2000s, but that's a whole other conversation for a different podcast or a different time at least. But I like his Punisher, and I just have to say that if there's anything about him I'm supposed to know from the shows, I have not seen all of it. So I hope that they take into consideration that, if there's a character arc about him that's important that shows up in this and I don't know, I don't know, that might take away from a little. I mean, we had an experience with the Wanda thing. We have a friend that went and watched Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness with us, and he goes, "When did Wanda have kids?" And if you didn't watch the shows, you would have never known that. So I get it, and it threw him off a little bit, but he was able to still get into the movie. They still made it work. So I think this is great. I love him in it. It looks good. It's going to be the funny scenes for sure.
Yeah.
And I hope he's in it. I hope he has a bigger part than a couple cameos. Yeah. I hope there is an ending where he's part of the end, where things go down and he's part of the solution.
Yeah. I'll say for myself, when it comes to the Punisher, I have not, because you're familiar with the Punisher way before I was and things like that, but Punisher never was my cup of tea type thing. I never thought about a character like that.
Violent revenge story. So
and he definitely is that. But when I was growing up, I was the superhero stuff. Oh, cool. So I never gravitated too much of the darker edge of comics type thing. But I will say, as someone who has watched the Daredevil show from the Netflix time, when they introduced him in season 2 of Daredevil, I was glued to the TV. Yeah. He was so good of a character, so rich of a story to tell. And I haven't even finished his spin-off show that was on Netflix. I did start it, but I do need to finish it. I was more enamored at that time of, Jessica Jones. There's a whole bunch they released on Netflix. And now they're transitioning those over to the Disney Plus with Daredevil Born Again and things like that. Yeah. And he appeared in season 1 of Daredevil Born Again and a couple times in season 1.
Well, and you got a world-class actor, too.
He's a great actor.
He's so good. Yeah, I've watched him in so many other movies. Every time, actually, when I hear of a movie he's in, it goes on my radar as well. That's something to at least pay attention to. And sometimes he's not in a good movie, but it's never his fault. And he plays this character very well. I might love Thomas Jane as Punisher, but I like his as well.
Yeah, well,
I just really love Thomas Jane as
Punisher. I know
Punisher.
that John Bernthal's version here of Punisher, we're going to see him for the first time in the films in Spider-Man Brand New Day. But also on Disney Plus, they're doing another Marvel Spotlight that's supposedly an hour long of just the Punisher. So
very cool.
Again, I know it comes back to something we've talked about that's kind of hard for your average moviegoer to keep up with. What do we have to know from the Disney Plus stuff that we have to know in the movies, vice versa? I feel like they've learned their lesson a little bit. Maybe that's just me being optimistic.
Yep.
But I wonder if we're going to get a solid intro to the Punisher in this movie. Sort of how we got an intro of Matt Murdock in No Way Home. Perfect way to segue him into it. And now I feel like just a natural follow-up, like you mentioned earlier, is to see Matt Murdock again in the follow-up movie, but as his alter ego Daredevil.
That'd be great. Be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So move on from that scene. There was another scene that you wanted to mention, and that was a shot of Peter Parker's eye as he's falling.
Yeah, this is just a quick little, nothing real crazy about this. This just speaks to the cinematography. Then I can't wait to see what this movie does. I have a feeling that they're not just going to do these couple shots like this for the trailer and have a good time. I have a feeling we're going to get a lot of angles like this in this movie, and we've never seen his face inside the mask before. Not only that, but what a great way to show his, like, he's jumping off of this thing, flying towards the earth. But after watching the video of Mary Jane, he's kind of just like, yeah, well, that's what I'm doing. And it's almost like the eye roll of, like, the excitement of falling towards the earth as Spider-Man doesn't even overwhelm him of his boredom and a sadness of not being a part of the life he had. And they show it in, like, a close-up like that in the mask. I like that. It's a more personal. This is the kind of stuff that makes me feel like this is going to be a legit Spider-Man movie. Not that those other three aren't. I will say those other three might be in contention as one of the best trilogies in the MCU. They're, to me, the best Spider-Man movies that we've ever seen, for sure. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying they're bad, but it was always accompanied by this or that or this or that, which makes sense when you realize that it's his origin. And now here we are, we actually have Spider-Man. Like, yeah, focus on him. Make this Make this all about him. Make it very personal. Even if the stakes don't get that heavy, we care enough because we understand what he gave up, and now we're seeing him go through it. Yep. I'm down for that.
Yeah, I can't add anything to that because I agree 100% what you said. This next scene here, it looks like of a man in green strapped to a chair that we have no idea who he is.
So is this a man? Are those hands man hands?
I would say they're man hands. This is an episode of Seinfeld.
I mean, they kind of look like man hands. They look like woman hands too. Okay. I'm curious to see who this character is.
I might be wrong.
I feel like this is a character. We see another shot of this person with their arms up in the air doing something. We're not sure. While they're talking about the idea of somebody doing things that we can't even see. And this is where we went on our little rant the other night when we kind of talked about this briefly, and we did say we wish we recorded it because for about 20 minutes, folks, we went psycho and we're not happy about the idea that Jean Grey's probably in this movie and might be a bad guy, and it's not even sure that that's 100% what's happening at all.
We got to the point where we're trying to convince ourselves in different scenarios. Oh, I see it happening here. Oh, I see this. We got to the end. We got so flustered that I said, "Wait a minute, this is not confirmed."
Yep. It just goes to show how fast you take ownership, and it also goes to show how fast you take ownership over these characters and stories, which is something as movie watchers we need to be careful to not do. And secondly, it does go to show how passionate my brother and I are going to be about X-Men stuff.
Yeah, and I do have to add, since we're on the subject right now, I see a lot of people online, big influencers online type thing. They act very passive about Jean Grey being in this movie.
Yes, they do. And they're very sure she's in it. Yeah,
they're very sure she's in it. They're like, oh, we're like 85, 90% sure she is in this movie, blah, blah, blah. And that's a good thing. And I'm thinking, this is so much bigger. If Jean Grey actually is in Spider-Man Brand New Day, this is so much bigger than just a Spider-Man movie. There's a number of holes in this that I don't know if they can fill enough so we could get a complete picture of a good movie. And I say that with admiration to Spider-Man, admiration to Jean Grey and the X-Men, the mutants at large, because Jean Grey is one of those characters that we haven't even gotten introduced to the MCU's X-Men, and this is their way of doing it. It brings up a whole bunch of questions. How are they going to do this? Is this going to be a disservice to Spider-Man in his own movie? And how are they going to portray Jean Grey? I love Sadie Sink. I love Stranger Things. She's a great actress. And she will do a heck of a job as Jean Grey. Agreed. But is this the time and the place to put her in it? And how are we going to get her? Are we going to get her as this multiversal runaway? Are we going to get her as this surprising new mutant that's just popping up because all of a sudden the MCU and Earth 616 now finally has mutants with no explanation of how they got there? That they haven't said that in the movies. That they haven't done what you and I thought Wanda was going to do in Multiverse of Madness and do a reverse No More Mutants say let there be mutants. That would have been the best way to put people on the edge of their seat to see what comes next. And then I can see logically, A mutant shows up in New York City. It's Jean Grey. What are you going to do? But they haven't done any of that yet. So how the heck if she is Jean Grey in this movie?
Yeah.
Plus, Jean Grey cannot start off in the MCU as a villain. Or even have a villain tendencies. Or anything like that.
The biggest mistake they could make.
Even if she's defending herself against the Department of Damage Control and they're trying to capture her, no, that's not how you start her off. That's not how you start the mutants off in this. Well, there's no establishment of this.
Yeah, just to give you some reinforcement, because I know a lot of people are going to say, well, who are you to say that? Because they can do whatever they want, and that's true. But the truth is, though, you want the X-Men are a big deal, and if you're going to redo the X-Men, that's cool. I understand that there's things they're going to have to do that we're probably not going to like. We might have to swallow. One of them is how they're coming into this world. I have a great way of doing it. And we'll get into it in a different podcast. It'll be 3 hours of us talking about it. But I don't think they're going to go the direction of using the incursions as the reason why that they feel like they're marginalized. They might use the incursions as a reason why they're in here, but I don't think they're going to use it the way we think they should. If she just is showing up in Spider-Man, then it concerns me to them not being serious about what it means to be who they are. And that's the important thing about the X-Men. Making her a bad guy, even if it's the misunderstood bad guy because she's running away from people, it's like jumping the gun. Because what's great about Jean and into the core of the character is that she's so innocent and so scared of who she is that you feel nothing but kindness and compassion for this character. Because then later on, when she turns into the most powerful evil thing in the world, you need to feel that hurt. You need to feel that that's happening. And it's the last person you want it to be, Yeah. So to start her out, we got this already with Wanda. Wanda came in, manipulated into being a bad guy, got talked into being a good guy for a while, comes back to being a real bad guy. Okay, cool, and that worked. Let's not do it again. Let's not do it again. Not with an X-Men character as important as Jean will be in the future if they are really taking X-Men seriously.
Yeah, well, that's one thing I want to say, too, about that. And I know that when a director or a producer is taking these characters inspired and created in the comics and they put them to live adaptation, I know there's some creative liberty on how they could portray them and how they could do them. But one thing that always annoys me to a degree is these characters are... Not only are they already well written to a degree, but they're well written because of their popularity. Jean Grey is arguably one of the most popular characters of the X-Men franchise, regardless if you personally like her or not. There's no denying, when you think of the X-Men, she was one of the original X-Men, the OG X-Men, the first female X-Men member. There's a whole bunch of lore about her, and she survived for so long being the nice one, and I don't mean that in a sarcastic way or in a bad way. She is that picture perfect, you want to take her home to meet your parents type of girl. And so... Well,
she's an extension of Charles, really. And he sees her that way as well, often. She's his finest student because he knows how powerful her mind is. And she takes right after him. And he's... to her, the mentor she's never had. So we can't start it off where she's in a bad spot.
You can't. That's what I was getting at, is for these characters, when you're adapting them into a movie, you have to keep the essence of why the fans loved her to begin with, why they love all these characters. No matter what their backstory is, they're there because they're popular enough to be in the movie. So remember their origins and where they came from. You could tell any different kind of story you want of them, but if you change their origins in a way that conflicts with how the character actually is, especially that we grew up and that we loved in the comics and even the shows and all that stuff, if you change it so dramatically, you're going to get a visceral negative reaction because that's not what the characters are.
I agree. And to even count on that or to put even more ammo behind what you just said is that's why I fear them bringing them from the multiverse is happening, because you're going to have a bunch of different characters from the X-Men from different times and different universes. When one of the really unique things about the X-Men is they kind of grow up together, and you got that sense of these people are a team from teenagers to young adults to adults. And it's just, if we do lose that, I just feel like, I mean, maybe it's just the old school guys in us that love those old movies, I guess, that love the old X-Men. But if you're looking for your 90s or your 97 X-Men in like a movie form and they go about it this way, it's just not going to be there. There's going to be an amalgamation of a bunch of characters put together that look like and act like our X-Men that we know. But we're going to have to pretend that they're just, somebody else.
Exactly. All right, so move away from Jean Grey before it gets crazy.
Yeah, let's go nuts.
We have, I think, 2 more scenes to touch on before we get to the main topic at hand. So, this scene, still shot of Spider-Man swinging away from Boomerang.
Yeah, excellent. I love it because it's a cover of a comic book. And it's I didn't read a lot of comic books when I was growing up, but the ones I did read were Punisher, Spider-Man, and some X-Men ones. And I specifically remember that, and it's almost an identical shot of a comic book. That, and it's another villain that, I kind of think that we're going to get a little bit of a, maybe in the beginning of this movie, we're going to get kind of like they did with the Fantastic Four, where it's like, since I've been Spider-Man for the last 4 years, I've met this guy and fought this guy and fought that guy.
Yep.
And we're only going to get a little piece of what that was and what's going on there. And to me, that's perfect because we don't need a movie of him fighting Boomerang. It's just cool that he exists in this world and we see a segment where he kicks his butt real quick, and I'm down for that.
Yeah. Well, I'll say, just to touch on this really briefly, is I agree with you. I think just like what we did in the Fantastic Four First Steps, where you get a little montage of these are some of the people that they fought, and this is how they saved the world before you get to your main baddie of the movie type thing. Spider-Man is the Marvel equivalent to Batman of DC in regards to the Rogues Gallery for a single character. Now, of course, you say that and you're trying to compare Spider-Man to Batman. Batman is 10 times darker than Spider-Man. Spider-Man's much more lighter. But if you just put them down on paper, you have Spider-Man, then you can have a laundry list of all of his foes that just hate Spider-Man, of all the people in the MCU. You do the same thing with Batman. He's got such an incredible rogues gallery of people that just hate Batman and want to do nothing but tear down Gotham and everything Batman stands for. And the same thing with Spider-Man. So I think for some of these lesser-known villains that don't have the capacity of helming a movie as the main baddie, like Boomerang, I think that's why you got so many of them that they were rumored to be, we're going to see this guy, we're going to see that guy, we're going to see Tombstone, we're going to see Scorpion, you're going to see all these characters. You're going to probably see them for maybe 2 to 5 minutes most of the movie, only because, from my understanding, this movie's taken place so many years after the events of No Way Home. And so, what's Spider-Man been doing? He's been
fighting crime,
kicking butt and taking names.
That's right.
So, and like what you just said, Ike, this is straight out of the comics of a cover.
Yeah, it looks
There's
great.
like 3 or 4 scenes, and you're going to hear everyone online saying the same thing, that when Dustin Daniel Cretton said he wanted to draw as much inspiration from the comics as he can, oh my gosh, he got it to the T, picture perfect. So I hope the story is as good as the cinematography they got for this movie. All right, the last scene we're going to touch upon real quick here. This is a still shot of Spider-Man going up against what appears to be a group of ninjas, possibly the Hand.
Yeah, I think who else could this be, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's why we're going to see Daredevil, and we're going to have Punisher involved. I think there's another person flying there with him, and I think that's Daredevil. I think maybe Punisher jumping too. I doubt it because he's a guy, but I think that this is going to be your climactic. He's going to turn into the ultimate Spider-Man. His powers are going to be at his best as a young spider adult, and he's going to realize what he can do, and he's going to go up against some of these guys are going to be the hardest people he's ever had to fight. And Daredevil's going to get involved because they're involved with him, and I think that's going to be cool. I think they're the Hand. I can't think of who else they'd be.
I agree. I think they're the Hand, and I think exactly what you said. This image, how it was shot and how it's portrayed to us in the trailer, is very reminiscent of No Way Home.
100%.
When Spider-Man's going up against Sandman, Electro, and Lizard. So it appears as though, this is just speculation, but it is shot in the way where there's so much of a gap between Spider-Man in the air and everything else. I won't be surprised to see a Daredevil jumping in there. And I agree with you. Punisher, he's not agile like Daredevil and Spider-Man are. So he's probably standing on the ground,
or he's just
jumping and shooting, something like that.
Yeah.
But I feel like if this really is the Hand, which appears is the Hand, then it's a nice way of bringing in the Daredevil-esque the Daredevil part of stuff that we've started to see with Punisher, with Daredevil himself, Matt Murdock, in No Way Home, that I think it's a nice blend of bringing that into the MCU and seeing what they could do with those characters and all that and some of these other people. And I will also point out, because a long time ago when Falcon and Winter Soldier came out, a lot of people were saying, oh, why, if this all happened in New York City, why didn't Spider-Man swing by to help Falcon, aka the brand new Captain America, blah, 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 and all this stuff and Takedown? Well, one, there's a lot of rights issues when it comes to how to portray Spider-Man, how to use Spider-Man, and I'm sorry, guys, but it seems like for a Disney Plus show, he can't be in them. That's one thing. Another thing is there's so many other different things going on between Spider-Man and some of these other characters that you're not always going to see Spider-Man swing into Hawkeye when he's shooting arrows at Kingpin villains and all that stuff, and what they call themselves, the Moving Bros or something like that. I'm not sure. Something funny like that. But anyways, you're actually getting that now in the Spider-Man movie. You're getting where some of these other villains and characters that aren't really related to Spider-Man so much, like Punisher, like the Hand and things like that, they're starting to merge together, and they're doing it in the best way in the Spider-Man movie, or in a movie we know they have liberty that they can put them in. So.
Well, and what's neat about this is why I think it's a new beginning, is it shows that it's escalating, right? Mm-hmm. I think we're going to see a lot of those bad guys in the beginning montage stuff. Mm-hmm. And I think the Scorpion is going to be a bigger scene, but I don't think he's going to be a main bad villain either. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be he's going to be a continuous one, and then he ends up taking him down. Maybe that's when he starts to realize he has problems with his powers first, is in a fight with Scorpion. That's why he gets the upper hand a couple times. But I think you're going to see Spider-Man meet his match in this and realize, oh man, it kind of comes down to that Dark Knight thing where arguably would the Joker have been a villain in the Batman franchise if Batman never existed, because when you watch The Dark Knight, he's really only there for him and to prove him wrong by using the city to do it. So it's kind of like Spider-Man is going to run in. I hope he kind of runs into this conundrum of where you have good guys, bad guys are going to come from too. And not just to come after him, but also the better he gets, the worse they're going to be as they come in. So, and I think that, I hope there is a trilogy. And I hope by the third one he's fighting someone ridiculous that makes us go, oh my God, I can't believe they're doing this. So I think that'd be a lot of fun,
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And I think that listen, guys, if the Hand is in this Spider-Man movie, you've now opened up a whole other portal, you can say, of potential characters that could be in this movie, potentially who Sadie Sink could be, that everyone's prevailing theory is Jean Grey, but you've opened up a whole bunch of other characters that she potentially could be playing that we have no idea.
I hope she's Gwen. That's what I'm hoping.
Yep. Gwen, Mayday Parker. Firestar was my thing. I thought that would be cool. Spider-Man, his amazing friends kind of coming into this, but
she could be the hot dog stand person. As long as she's not Jean Grey, I'll be okay.
Yes. And if she is Jean Grey, we're going to be like...
We'll give it a chance. We'll see.
Oh, my.
We're just very passionate, so beware.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. All right.
Let's do it.
We are at the final topic, the main topic of the second episode of the Goodell Multiverse podcast. And this is one of the things that I personally have been excited about when we were starting to do a podcast. I'm like, you know what? Doomsday is coming right around the corner. There's so many Marvel movies to talk about. And let's just do a dissecting review of every Marvel movie, and might as well start it with the very, very first movie that came out. I'm just gathering my notes. Let's see here. So, before we begin on this retrospective of the first Iron Man movie, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a history background. This is something I want to do for every one of the movies, and I had fun doing this. It's a little thing about like fun facts and research and things like that. So, Iron Man 1. Before Iron Man, Marvel wasn't the powerhouse studio we know today. Throughout the late 90s and early 2000s, Marvel Entertainment has sold off film rights to characters like Spider-Man and the X-Men to other studios such as Sony and Fox, just to stay financially afloat. By the mid-2000s, Marvel wanted control. In 2005, Marvel secured $525 million loan from Merrill Lynch, an American investment bank and wealth management division of Bank of America. Marvel used their remaining character film rights, including Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America, as collateral. This led to the creation of Marvel Studios as an independent production company, meaning they would produce their own films rather than just license their characters out. This was a huge risk. If the movies failed, Marvel could have lost the rights to many of their remaining heroes. Marvel still needed help with distribution and marketing, so they partnered with Paramount Pictures. It's important to note, Paramount did not finance the film, Marvel did. Paramount handled distribution, advertising, and theatrical release. This deal allowed Marvel to maintain creative control, which is key to building a connected universe. Later, the Walt Disney Company would acquire Marvel in 2009, but Iron Man was made before Disney was involved. Actually, a fun fact, in 2006, a 6-picture deal was made with Paramount Pictures for distributing, advertising, and theatrical release. Of the 6 films, though, only 4 were fulfilled with Paramount Pictures, as Avengers, the 5th film, and Iron Man 3, the 6th film, were bought out by Disney to break the deal early. But, back to Iron Man 1. At the time, Iron Man was far from a household name. Characters like Spider-Man and the X-Men were already taken. Iron Man was considered a B tier in mainstream popularity. But the choice forced Marvel to build a franchise from scratch, which ultimately became its biggest strength. For casting, Robert Downey Jr. was selected for Tony Stark. At the time, Downey Jr. was not a safe bet. He had a history of legal issues and struggled with addiction in the late 90s and early 2000s. Director Jon Favreau fought hard for him, believing his real-life redemption arc mirrored Tony Stark's character. Marvel executives were hesitant, but he was cast anyways, and the rest was history. Already an Oscar-winning actress from Shakespeare in Love, Gwyneth Paltrow as Pepper Potts brought prestige to the project. Jeff Bridges as Obadiah Stane, a respected veteran actor who gave the film credibility, and famously said that production felt like a student film with a big budget because of how loose and improvising it was. Terrence Howard as Colonel James Rose, aka Rhodey. At the time, Howard was actually the highest paid actor on the film, fresh off an Oscar nomination for Hustle and Flow. Filming was nothing short of, quote, controlled chaos. Director Jon Favreau took a unique approach. The script was unfinished during filming. Many scenes were heavily improvised, especially by RDJ. Actors were often given outlines instead of full dialogue. Favreau wanted the film to feel grounded, more like a tech-based realism story than a typical superhero movie. The military sequences were filmed with cooperation of the U.S. Armed Air Forces. Unlike today, where CGI and blue screens seemed to dominate filming, practical effects and real locations were used whenever possible. Tony Stark's tech was inspired by real-world engineering and futurism, rather than just pure comic book fantasy. What's also astonishing to realize is that the MCU almost didn't exist. That famous post-credit scene featuring Nick Fury, played by the incredible Samuel L. Jackson, was added very late in production. The idea of a shared universe was still very experimental. Many audiences in 2008 didn't even know to stay after the credits to watch it. When Iron Man released on May 2nd, 2008, it was a critical and commercial success. With a production budget of approximately $140 million, the global box office hit a surprising $585+ million, over 4 times its production budget. A near $305 million profit. Also, just another fun fact here, the film made more money domestically than internationally, a thing that seems to be very rarely heard of nowadays. Iron Man was not just a box office hit, it was a critical darling. At the time, critics' score on Rotten Tomatoes was approximately 94%, with audience score of 91%. These were exceptionally high for a superhero origin film, especially in 2008, when the genre didn't yet have today's consistency. At the time, many people didn't expect much from Iron Man as a character, but the reaction quickly became, wait, this is actually really good. Critics praised it as a smart, funny, and grounded movie, a contrast more stylized comic film. Robert Downey Jr. stole the show, widely called a perfect casting choice, even more so than Tom Cruise, the man originally intended to bring Tony Stark to the big screen. RDJ was praised for his charismatic, witty, and human acting abilities. This film is arguably a career comeback story for RDJ. This film proved Marvel's gamble worked. For Marvel Studios, this wasn't just profitable, it was proof of concept, validated their risky financial deal, cemented their distribution partnership with Paramount Pictures, and most importantly, it showed audiences would show up for a lesser-known hero, which opened the doors for the entire MCU. Indeed, Iron Man 1 launched the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the most successful film franchise in cinema history. So,
yes, sir.
With that opening,
Yes.
my brother Ike, would you like to read the official synopsis of Iron Man 1?
Yeah, let's get right into it. I'll tell you exactly what this movie's going to be about, and then you can take us through each act, and we'll discuss them. So, the official synopsis of Iron Man 1. Brilliant industrialist and weapons manufacturer Tony Stark is kidnapped by terrorists, creating a powered suit of armor to escape captivity. After witnessing his weapons used for evil, a changed Stark refines his suit to fight terrorism as Iron Man, battling a corporate conspiracy within his own company. Ooh.
Now, that is...
Sounds good to me.
That sounds really, really good. All right, so... how we're going to grade this film, and as a retrospective, we have kind of like a formula here.
Yeah.
What we did was we watched the movie, and we used what we wanted to break down specifically by act of the 3 acts of the film, what we liked about it, what we didn't like about it, did it hold up, and we're going to give you an overall rating from the Goodell Multiverse, our official rating for Iron Man 1. So, first act is kind of like a setup. It is the fall of Tony Stark, basically. So, in Act 1, by the way, potential spoilers. If you haven't seen this movie, I don't know why you're watching this, but That was 2008. That was almost 20 years ago. You need to go watch this movie. This is your warning. All right. So, Fall of Tony Stark in Act 1. We're introduced to Tony Stark, a genius billionaire weapons manufacturer at the top of his game. Charismatic, arrogant, and unconcerned with the consequences of his work. After a weapons demonstration in Afghanistan, Tony is ambushed and captured by terrorists using his own missiles. Gravely injured, he's saved by fellow captive Ho Yinsen, who helps him build a crude arc reactor to keep shrapnel from reaching his heart. Forced to build weapons for his captors, Tony instead secretly constructs the first Iron Man suit and escapes. Returning home, he announces that Stark Industries will stop manufacturing weapons, creating tension with his mentor, Obadiah Stane. That is the whole first act in a nutshell. And I'll tell you, the first thing that I noticed when I was watching this movie is just how good of a movie this was in the beginning. If you didn't care about superheroes, this was just a darn good movie.
Yeah. Yeah, holy cow, how good this is. Right down to how awesome the weapon is that he's selling to the military. He puts his arms up like our Robert Downey Jr. way that he's been doing, and then they just blow up behind him. He's like, what a badass. You know what I mean? He's just the coolest. And I love his talking with the soldiers and how he's just so likable, yet you can tell this guy's a douchebag, you know? And that's my favorite part, is it's so different in the beginning where he's a jerk, he's a guy you can tell it's just not been told no a lot, you know, but obviously there's something about him, and I think that's what RDJ brings to the role. Like, yeah, he's kind of a jerk, but there's a darkness to this guy. You can kind of see it already. But that's something that gets into it later. This whole beginning is, I mean, the idea of introducing him a tad to get that idea of who he is. Then he goes over and gets kidnapped, and then we never leave there. We don't go back to the people and they're trying to find him, and we don't see any of that. We stay right with him in that cave. I think was the smartest move that they made, because it made us kind of forget that he's a douchebag. So when he comes back, we get to see them looking at him like, what happened to that douchebag? And we see him being not that guy. So we get to kind of understand how bad he really was without really having to see him be that bad.
Yeah.
And it's genius because you love him from the start. It don't matter what kind of a jerk he is, what he goes through is insane. Mm-hmm. It's some of the darkest stuff the MCU's ever done. In that, him building the suit, I mean, come on.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. I was thinking about, I don't know exactly what characters Marvel had at that time for what they could do as Marvel Studios, because obviously because of the financial crisis they had in the 90s, they sold off the biggest names they can do. That's why Iron Man is considered a B tier. All they really had were the Avengers left over, so of course they have to use the toys that they have in their sandbox to start making it. And they could have easily picked Thor as their first one. They could have picked Captain America. I mean, look at all the characters that they did have, and then of course throughout the years, they eventually acquired more characters here. Deals fell through here. Studios got absorbed here. Things like that. But picking Iron Man to be the first one is a stroke of genius. Because what I loved most about it, the biggest impression I got from this, and it was very evident in the very first scene, was how you could bring a comic book character into the real world where we could believe this actually could happen. Mm-hmm. And I think that when you do that, you make a connection with the audience that's different than just, oh, I'm here to watch some guy in a suit kick butt. It's much more than that. I would argue that, yes, those are the action scenes that you saw in the trailers, that you, as a kid, when I was a kid watching these movies and all that stuff, I was like, oh, of course you want to see that because fighting's cool, all that stuff. But from a story perspective, you can even go this whole movie without Iron Man to the very end when he fights the big bad guy. And it's just such a good, rich story that actually could happen to a very rich philanthropist type guy like him. What I wrote down on here, what worked for this movie was the whole thing. Not for this movie. Yeah, for the movie, but for the beginning, the act, the first one. It's amazing setup that left me authentically wondering what was going to happen. It's a perfect example of recognizing a tragedy that you feel responsible for, even if you personally didn't contribute to the problem intentionally. And I think that's one of the cool turning points and characteristics about Iron Man himself, or Tony Stark himself, is that he's this spoiled rich kid that grew up and took over the family business. And he had a mentor and things like that, but we always knew in the Marvel comics and especially very evident in the MCU that he had a rocky relationship with his dad. His dad sometimes was there for him, wasn't there for him. It sounds very almost typical of what you would see some dysfunction in families actually happen. So it's cool to see that even rich people have family dysfunctional problems like that.
Yeah.
But when he realizes, when that first missile, when he's getting out of the Humvee and all the soldiers around him that he was trying to take a selfie with, that he was goofing off with, having fun with, they all just died right in front of him. Mm-hmm. And he's running for his life and hides behind a boulder, a big rock, and a missile hits the ground and doesn't go off immediately, and he sees his name on it. That, pun intended, stark realization of, these are my weapons that I gave to the U.S. military that are now trying to kill me with. And not just me, but the U.S. military with. It's so interesting when you put it into real-world perspectives, especially on how they decided to film this movie and the creative choices they made at the time, which are very gutsy, because I think that's one of the reasons why this movie in particular does live up even to the times that as we're currently recording this right now, there is a war actually going on around the world in this specific area, type area, I should say, in the Middle East. And that's always happened, that's always been there, probably always will be there, but that's how this movie ties into real worldism, in my opinion. And that seeing that happen can actually happen to someone. It just so happens to be Tony Stark, a fictional character, and then you see all the stuff that's happening, and I love that is kind of like that is an origin story that is really good for him to live up to, type thing, in just my opinion. Now I'm starting to blabble, but you go ahead.
Oh no, yeah, I would love to say something to what you just said, because you're correct. I would have to go and say that I don't think in the early years of Marvel, of this idea, if it were up to Disney owning them first, you would have never got Iron Man as the first movie.
I completely agree.
But we wouldn't have the MCU like we do today either. What's unique is they got a director like Jon Favreau, who's at this time hasn't done stuff that truthfully kind of merited like a reason to do it. I mean, don't get me wrong, Favreau's a great director. The movie that he made, fantastic. But he's done a lot of crime comedy movies, before this point. And they're kind of edgy. And Robert Downey Jr. is a guy who's got this past and got this thing that's kind of above him that today's standards wouldn't allow him to be this character. If say this happened last year, right?
Yeah.
What you touched on, though, in like what they did brilliantly, I think, without knowing that they did, is Favreau or whoever wrote this, and in their, I don't want to just give John the 100% credit because I know the writers had a lot to do with it, but whatever he decided to keep on the page and keep on film and tell as the story, right? So when I say Favreau, I mean all the production, right? But Favreau decided to make this about this guy who does go over to the Middle East selling his weapons. And you described the whole scene where he just watched all these guys die. He sees his weapon, realizes it's his. And then not only that, he's captive, knowing that he's probably going to get killed. And he's being forced to make his own weapons into something to kill people that he doesn't want to kill. And then on top of it, he watches a guy sacrifice his own life to save his so he could get out. You're talking about something he went through that a lot of soldiers go through in the Middle East or in these wars all the time. And he goes through it, in a short amount of time, but he still goes through it.
Yeah.
So him coming, you can't take a guy like that who comes from the family he does, problem with his parents, such a jerk, the way he is, and just, oh, by the way, your weapons are what's killing people. That's not changing him. What changed him is the PTSD from it, which is the framework of the entire MCU going forward, is around him and his character. And we all know that they cast people, are you going to work well with him? Not that Robert won't work well with any actor, but what's the chemistry going to be with Robert? Because that's how it's going to work. But his whole framework of who he is as a man and as a character and like what he's going to do with his life all stems from what he experienced out in that desert. Which is why Ultron gets made. We have the vision that he sees, but that's just, that vision only works because he knows he doesn't want to relive what he lived in the first place. Yeah. And ultimately to him sacrificing himself at the end, snapping the finger at the end. Spoiler alert, but you're not here if you're here for this, you're going to get it. Yeah. But that's ultimately, if you go look it up, I've watched a show called Rescue Me about firefighters after 9/11, and it went on for several years. It's a great show, and it really dives deep into the survivor's guilt, PTSD of surviving something that you shouldn't have. And that's exactly what he's going through the entire MCU, right up until that moment. And lots of times, those people's lives end tragically. Whether it's heroic, like they do with Iron Man, or, more tragically, which we won't get into, right? Yeah. But thankfully, that it went that direction. And it's so perfect. That's perfect because that's the only believable way. You're going to come back, and not only does it come back, but I'm changing my whole company. Everything I'm going to do is, you could say that it's because he felt bad because it's his weapons. That's definitely part of it. But it's also because he experienced something that not a lot of people get to experience. And it changed him moving forward constantly. Right down to every decision he makes going as they went. Which is why in Civil War he makes such a big deal about, listen, I don't like the government. I don't want the government telling us what to do either. But innocent people are dying because of us, and I can't handle that. And that's his problem, is he can't handle that. When Cap can. Not that Cap is okay with that, but Cap understands what sacrifice means. Iron Man, not so much. He battles with what that means because to him it's trauma. For Cap, it's honor. and it's a different thing, right? And that's why we see it differently. That's why Cap sees it. If we're going to die, we're going to die fighting, and it's going to be honorable, which is what we ultimately get out of Cap and what he puts forward in the end. But with Iron Man, it's like anyone that dies around me is my fault all the time, because that's what he went through in the beginning, and that's what we see, and you see it go through the whole thing, you know. And but once again, you're talking the first half hour of this movie is so integral to the entire Infinity War saga. It's amazing.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
No, you're completely right. It's just one of the things I know when I was rewatching this that stuck out to me mostly, and I know he's a fictional character, it's a fictional story, but they use real world scenarios and events type thing to make a point for this movie, and I can't help but think of like the people in Israel that were taken hostage a couple years ago, and now finally, thankfully, they're all freed. Not all of them alive, but they're all, you know, the ones that have been held captive are all free, and Tony Stark didn't go through any military training as a character. He's just a civilian, just like how they were, and the fact that all those people in real life that survived that attack, that terrorist attack from Hamas, I don't know what to give them other than a hug and something, because it just made me think about, in real world, people that actually do get kidnapped from terrorist organizations, treated horribly, forced to do things against their will, and then finally one day, whether it's through a courage of their own or through military intervention or what have you, they are finally freed. I can't imagine what they feel like.
Oh, it's life-changing, just like anything, even just like a car accident. You know?
It's just
you lose your whole family in a car accident that you're in with them, you'll change your life completely.
Yeah, and I think that's what I like about this movie is it's thought-provoking in that aspect of, Tony Stark did it, survived it, became Iron Man from it, stuff like that. But as you alluded to earlier, is that not everyone is the same after that, and just like how he wasn't the same, that's what defined his character for the whole Infinity Saga, and what he has been striving to do every time we see him in the movies. Every role he played in the MCU was, how do I fix this? Because I feel like the PTSD, like this is my fault. Yes. Yeah, so anyways, for me, on our sheet here, we have a standout moment from Act 1. Why don't you share yours first? If you have
a standout moment from Act 1.
Any moment that jumped out to you, you're like, wow.
Yeah, I would like to say probably when he escapes, it really made that whole, that's just it. My standout kind of comes in with a cool question we have later too, which is fine because we'll repeat it when we get there. Yeah. But yeah, that standout moment when he turns on that freaking Iron Man suit and the thing busts through and you just see those two white eyes in the dark. I'll never get over how he's scary. And then to them bad guys, he's like, what is that? And he just comes out mad. It's like, I love it. Like, I will never get over how badass he is coming out in that suit and just giving it all he had. And I think that's what I like about that scene, which we kind of discuss later when we do our questionnaire. But it's amazing because he's just angry. And because this might not work. He might find that the thing breaks down and he dies right there in his suit. But it's a now or never. That, especially after seeing his buddy run out there with a gun shooting. You know, it's like, it's time to get this done. You know, and it's like, so this is how I'm getting out, or I'm gonna die. And he takes that on, and it's just awesome. Yeah, I just love that whole moment of him just coming through there. Then he smacks the guy right into the wall, and then his arm gets stuck in the wall. I mean, it's just like, yep, this is cool. That, to me, that stands out in Act 1 for sure. And I also like his when he sits down at his press conference. I like that choice of his. Because he's just like, he's so broken down as a man, and yet he's still thrust in front of these people. So he has that side of him that knows he's a showman and that he can be eccentric already, but now it's a side that he doesn't know how to express this. Which is why he seems real weird from anything we know of him moving forward in the rest of the movies too. Everyone kind of looks at him weird, like, oh, I can't believe you're doing this. Which goes to show you how different he is from this thing. And even in the positive, funny moments, it's like his PTSD makes him be reckless and do crazy things, like in Iron Man 2 when he drives a race car. Like, you're going to, what are you doing? It's like so dumb, but in his eyes, I've already died once.
Yeah.
It's like I was supposed to be dead.
Yep.
I literally have something in my chest to keep me alive.
Yeah.
It's like at this point, it's like I'm gonna do what I want to do, even if sometimes it looks reckless. But and that's kind of like that attitude started when he turned that suit on.
Yeah.
And he just comes. It's like that. It's just the coolest thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with everything you said. What I wrote down here for my standout moment, it basically is that in a nutshell, but even it's just before he gets the suit on, that terrorist aspect of Tony's resilience in the face of a horror that he chooses himself instead of just making weapons for these guys like they think he's doing. He's deciding, screw that, I'm going to be a superhero. In the sense that I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to take my friend here that I just made, I'm going to take him with me. That's his attention. And it was his real origin of a superhero moment. And he wasn't even Iron Man yet.
Right.
And I think that is when you're looking at these characters and you're like, oh, it's easy to be a superhero if you're a rich guy with a suit. Look at how he started. Yeah. He built that out of, to quote scraps. Obadiah Staines, he built that out of scraps in a cave in the Middle East. There's no technology, Harvard, MIT stuff around him. It just shows the brilliance too. Also, when you're literally face up against a wall. Of what you can do and the strength you can muster up, the courage you can have that you didn't even know you had it in you just to survive and stay alive. And I think that, to me, that was the birth of his superhero moment before he even put on the suit. That I'm gonna defy odds and do or die trying to get out of here. And I made a freaking Iron Man suit. So, yeah. Anyways, let's see.
I want to talk about Obadiah, but I think we'll talk about him more in the next section.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. So, how would you score this? There's an optional thing here that if we want to score the first act. I put it a 10 out of 10 as a heck of an opening.
Oh, yeah. I'm with you there. 10 out of 10 for sure. It's just so good.
Yeah.
You can't get much better.
Yeah.
And like I said, I do believe it was accidentally good, though.
Yeah.
Which is okay, because Shawshank is accidentally brilliant. Jaws is accidentally brilliant.
Yeah.
That's the best thing about those is, like, you got the best minds doing it, and it's great,
Yeah. And by the way, I do feel it's important to score every act, because there are some movies that you could even say is a great movie, but Act 2 kind of lagged, or Act 3 was not that good, but overall it was a pretty good movie. So that's why I thought, you know what, we're definitely going to keep that on our formula sheet here of reviewing it. So, Act 2, would you like to read a brief synopsis of what Act 2 was?
Sure. Now back in the U.S., Tony refines his technology, developing advanced suits and embracing a new purpose. With help from Pepper Potts and James Rhodes, he begins secretly operating as Iron Man, shutting down weapons operations overseas. Meanwhile, it's revealed that Obadiah Stane, has been working behind the scenes with the terrorists and orchestrated Tony's capture to take control of the company. Stane acquires the remains of Tony's original suit and begins building his own larger, more powerful armor. The stakes escalate as Tony realizes the threat is closer to home.
Yes. Yes. I mean, there's so much there to dissect about this. The one thing that stands out to me, especially after you're rereading this and after we recently just watched it, is anyone who was in Tony's situation when he comes back home could just be relieved he's home. But he has this drive to kind of finish I wouldn't even finish what he started, but to start retribution, to start the revenge process. And not just revenge on a personal note, but just revenge in general of all the stuff that he thought he knew he didn't know. And so taking matters into his own hands by building his own suit and testing it out and getting help from Pepper and from Rhodey, and then of course a typical villain thing that is kind of cliche, but it works as it's supposed to for this movie. His mentor turns out to be the bad guy behind it all. Yeah.
Yes. This is where it is cookie cutter ish. But what's good about it is you keeping it simple. The thing is, I'll just give you my little take on Obadiah right now. Jeff Bridges is one of the best actors that we've had ever. Funny. I mean, The Big Lebowski. You know, the stuff he's done is fantastic. And the best thing about him is he's a very lovable guy. You know, but he also knows how to turn the heat up. So, you know, not to skip too far ahead, but one thing that didn't work in this, just to throw it out there, the scene that really sucks is that when he meets with the terrorists, that makes the terrorists kind of seem like they're real dumb. You know, I wish it was the other way around. I kind of wish it felt like they were twisting his arm more than he was twisting theirs. But what I will say about him, though, as a villain in this is out of all the human villains that we'll go through, which we're going to make a secret list on the side of this for when we're all done with this whole thing to talk about, because I think there's a difference between superpower villains and human villains, and we're going to have to make a different list for them. And I consider him a human villain. He is one of the villains that, in this rewatching it, the first time I felt this way, that you actually don't want him to be the bad guy. You like him. Like, I like this guy. Like, the chemistry between him and RDJ is great. I love the scene when he comes to his house and he's arguing with him, and he opens up the pizza box, and he just, like, takes the pizza, and just, like, there's just the way they talk, and, like, the way they act together, and he puts his hands on him, just how he talks to him, it's like, you can tell that there was a mentorship there, that there was a loving relationship between those two. So what lacks for me is where he went so bad, because he makes a drastic bad turn, which is fine, and I like it. But it's almost like, man, you guys seem like you were like father-son. Yeah. And it's like, you went real bad, dude, like real quick. You know? And like, I don't want to think it's just money, you know, and it is, though. But I don't want to think it's that, you know, and it sucks that it is, which is why when I give you the score of that, it's one of the downsides of the movie for me, is I just wish Obadiah, I almost wish they didn't have him as him, because, God, when he does go bad and you realize how bad he is, it's like my heart broke. Like, no, Bridges, what are you doing? You're his dad. You're a good guy. Like, I like you too much. Your chemistry's too good. There needed to be a little more to it. That's why I feel like it would have been better if his arm was being twisted than him twisting theirs.
I agree.
Like, if they got to him, and we need him, and you need to set up your best friend. And then he did it unwillingly, kind of. But he's in too deep. You know, maybe make the terrorists a bigger threat than he was would have been the better way to go. Because I kind of did feel like, man, you made a real big turn for how cool you guys are together. Because I kind of want to see another half hour of this movie of those two just hanging out. Yeah, I could watch them just hang out and talk crap to each other. You know, and like, I dig that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll say, to piggyback on that, what worked for me for this act was, it was basically how to build a superhero. Yeah. A classic bad guy revelation too. It was necessary, but I do think it was executed brilliantly. It was very well done. It's kind of, like you said, it's kind of cookie cutter. But in the beginning infancy, if this was Iron Man, the 8th Marvel movie, right, I would give this a lower score than what I'm giving it. I agree. But this is the first movie. It's the baby that took off and was able to grow. You know, this isn't the adolescent that you kind of know by now you're not supposed to do this and this and this type thing. For that, I do agree with your thoughts on what didn't work. I just put that in a different spot because there's a part where it said, we have on our questionnaire, did pacing hold up? And I put, yes, it does, but I will say, if you don't want to see testings of like the Iron Man suit, you know, a lot of the times when we watch these type of movies, we like to get to the action as fast as we can, or get to the plot as fast as we can. So the little side things of how they actually make their armor, their suit, their weapons, how they hone their skills, all that stuff, they kind of get brushed under the carpet to a degree, because you're just trying to get to more of the meat, and you don't want the excess, what people would consider like the fat of the project type thing. But for this first movie, and for seeing that, I enjoyed it.
Some of my favorite stuff.
I loved seeing him put on the different tech stuff to see what blasts, what he blasts, what blasts him back, the different times. That's where some of his, I feel like, of most of the movie, that's where RDJ got to have a lot of fun and just be like, I'm going to be Tony Stark and just goof off in the lab today. And they're going to film it and put it in the movie and be like, yep, that's really what happened.
Well, and those scenes are essential, too, to establish how smart he is.
Yeah.
As well. We need to see that that's a brain behind this guy. But go ahead.
Yes. Yeah. No, I agree. So what I put on here is, if you don't want to see the testings of the Iron Man suit, then you might feel a little bored when you're watching that part. So I could see that where it'd be kind of like a not that good of pacing, or why parts of it didn't work. But for understanding the creation of Iron Man, plus giving you a more realistic view as a possible point of view here, I feel like it was essential and it was well done.
Yeah.
Because that's what this whole movie from the very beginning has been trying to tell you, is this could happen in real life.
Yeah.
And how much are we going to show you that this could actually happen? What would Elon Musk be doing in his lab if he was like a Tony Stark figure?
Yeah.
Someone that's super brilliant, that has enough money in the world to make this stuff. Could he execute it? What would he look like, him trying to do it? I thought you needed to do that. So I like the quote-unquote build a superhero scenes that we had.
Yeah, I'll even give you a step further and say it's not just essential that if you're going to be bored with those scenes, this is a movie not for you. Because without those scenes, this movie isn't that good. And they're my favorite parts. I like that in all movies, though. When you have a movie where they're figuring stuff out, chalkboard stuff, building something, testing something, I'm in. I can watch a half hour to an hour of that just in a movie, you know?
Yeah.
That's some of the reason why I like racing movies, because it's like watching them figure out how to get better. You know, we just watched F1 not too long ago, and most of that movie is watching them figuring out how to get better. And like, that's just, some people can say that takes up a lot of time, but that's what this is about, right? He's not only are we doing this movie is not an origin of the Iron Man. This is an origin of Tony Stark.
Yep.
And Iron Man happens to be a product of Tony Stark.
Exactly.
And if we don't see him making that suit and getting to that suit, then we're losing him. We're losing the whole purpose of it.
Exactly.
You know, because it's perfect. That those stuff is and it's funny, and arguably, you know, when we talk about best character moments, I'm with you. I agree that to me that is the best character moment when she's helping him with the art.
Yep.
First of all, it's the best she's done ever in her career. Sorry, I'm not a Gwyneth Paltrow fan. The only other movie she's done real well is Seven, and she's in a box at the end. So,
burn.
Yeah, sorry, Gwen. But she does great in this. She's perfect for this role, though. She's very timid, just right. I don't think I'd cast anyone else as her part. And this between them is fantastic, and it's funny, serious, and it also sets that tone for future stuff again. When he grabs it and says, "Yes, I do trust you." It's like it just reminded me when I was watching the movie. It reminded me of that moment when they reach down and he touches the thing and with the helmet in Endgame, and he's giving the last message to her when he thinks he's dying. I'm like, this is good stuff, you know. And I realized that it got followed through with, which is what makes it better. And then arguably any time he's messing with the robots.
Oh my gosh,
it's just the best stuff.
Comedic genius right there.
It's it's funny. The fire extinguisher one makes me laugh every single time.
Yes.
It never gets old.
Yes.
Don't. Don't do it. Anyways.
Yep.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah. So as I said, that is, I want to say that is my favorite moment of Act 2, but probably one of my favorite character scenes in general is when Pepper is helping Tony change his arc reactor in his chest. It's just well done, good showcase of their chemistry together. Yeah. And why I think it was very important how when they picked RDJ, who at the time needed a career comeback, and they picked Gwyneth Paltrow and things like that. I could only imagine the test screenings they did for getting the right actor with the right actress type thing to mesh them together, because this, if their test screenings were anything like this whole scene was, oh my gosh, the whole room lit up. Like it's amazing.
I agree.
It was from her being squeamish on doing it and him joking in the midst of doing this and even be like, "Oh, just cardiac arrest, whatever." And she's like, "What do you mean?" And it's like,
and you know what's I love
so
it.
good.
Yeah. And you know what's even interesting about this? I noticed this time watching it too, is we never really get a backstory on Pepper Potts.
No.
Even in the rest of the movies.
Mm-hmm.
There's no, like, where did you come from? Who were you before? And she ends up being an anchor of him with his PTSD and all that. Mm-hmm. And it makes you wonder if she had been through something, and which is what makes her stick it around. Because there's a few times in the future movies where you're kind of like, yeah, you need to leave. You're in danger half the time, or this or that, whatever's going on. Or his womanizing on top of it. What's she?
Yep.
But she's seeing something in him that she has in her, I think. And I think that there's a mystery to her there that makes that worth the imagination of maybe she understands what he just went through, which is why she's acting the way she is with him. Mm-hmm. So then later when he's just like, just go or whatever, she can't because she wouldn't want someone to walk out on her.
Yep. Because
she's like him. So I wonder what her life was before him.
Yeah, I agree. No, I completely agree. I'm glad you brought up that point. And you know, as you're saying it, part of me, just for the mystery of it, I don't want that answer.
Yeah, I don't want to know.
Yeah, I mean,
I like
they easily can, and then in a future movie, her introduced that she had a traumatic childhood, whatever.
Yeah, but in my life, she lost everything she's ever had, and that's why she's with him.
Yep.
And she sees that in him now, and that's why they stayed together. That might not be true, but for me it is.
It's just and I don't know in the comics, because to be honest, from my understanding of the comics, Pepper was a little bit different than what she's in the movies. Okay. But that's okay. Jarvis was very different than what it was in the comics.
Yeah, I knew that.
So, I mean, I don't know to a degree, but it's a little different. But the Pepper that we know in here, I kind of like that she has that mystery. And it does make sense, because like you said, as we dive into more of Iron Man and his future films and his arcs and things like that, Pepper has been she had every chance to run away and every excuse to run away. He's a womanizer too much, he's too greedy, he's too selfish, maybe his PTSD is too much and it overcomes him, and not all people, unfortunately, would stay with their spouse or with their significant other if they're going through something that traumatic, because not everyone can handle that too. She seems to have some sort of
understanding of it.
An understanding, or I'm trying to think of the right words, but that type of character that is like, if you can't pick up the pieces, I'm going to pick them up for you and carry you through it, no matter what. And that's very noble, and that's very cool to have a character like that. It kind of takes away that typical old view of a character trope of the female person of the movie type thing, the just a secretary, just a love interest type thing, because everyone would water them down to just that. But Pepper shows in this, so she's a lot more of a strong woman than you give her credit for.
Yeah, and if she is like him and has had something happen to her and he recognizes that, and her much in real life with people that go through this stuff and have this, often find peace in people that understand what they're going through.
Yep.
So like she sees what others see as you're crazy acting. Mm-hmm. She sees as that's what you do when you're this. Yeah. And that's why she's able to stick it out, because it's like, yeah, he's wild and crazy, but it's because he thinks he should be dead.
Yeah, and even in the moment in the film where he asked her to go and spy and get some files about Obadiah and stuff like that, what he's doing, and she says, well, then I quit if you're going to keep doing this. And then ultimately, I forgot his exact wording, but he says, I have to finish this. I have to do this. This is something that's just part of me. And it's almost like you can see it in her face without her saying anything, where she's like, okay, then. Well, I guess you still have me then. So she walks back over and picks up that hard drive and just starts walking away and be like, you were just about to leave. But at the same time, I think you're right.
I get it.
She gets it.
Yep.
And she needed to see that in him, that he has this drive, and if she really loves him and wants to protect him, even at that time when they're just boss and secretary, she's going to do it. And I think that's really cool. And that's a great start of a foundation for their relationship. Really.
Yeah.
Anyways, so only because of the cheesy bad guy type thing, the twists and turns about that, I'd scored this a 9 out of 10 for a second arc, only because of that.
Yeah, I went as far as to give it a 7 out of 10. Mm-hmm. There's a couple jokes that happen and with the building of the suit, I thought, that's not that funny.
Yeah.
Then it's a little outdated.
Yeah.
And when I say that, it's like the one where you've caught me doing something worse. It's like,
Yeah.
that's not as funny. And especially with the special effects in that moment, it has not lived up to par. But I give it a lot of excuse with the time that's made.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at the same time, it did kind of look bad, and the joke was kind of sour, so it kind of was like, that's a little stupid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That kind of felt cringy. But that didn't make it a 7. What made it a 7 was, the terrorists, just as scary as they were in the beginning, they seemed like a bunch of wusses in this meeting with Obadiah.
Yeah,
It bugged me. I'm just like, Obadiah, because in that is why I gave it a 7, is because I don't buy the massive evilness that Obadiah really is. Mm-hmm. You're talking about a guy who once loved this dude, that even if he come back, and yes, the motivation is money. And sure, he says, I'm going to take the company in a new direction that probably is going to make us broke. Which doesn't, actually, in the long run.
Yeah.
But let's say it does. It's going to, and you're worried about it. He sees more money in making weapons. You're still going to be mad enough to kill him? You know? Like, to murder this guy?
Yeah.
Like, I really felt like...
Yeah.
I just needed something more. You know, like maybe a realization that he's not really been the best of friend to his dad either, type of thing, right?
Yeah.
Because it just seemed like this guy's awesome until you take the dollar signs away. It's like, wait a minute, because Alfred and Batman would have burnt the Batcave to the ground to save Bruce.
Yeah.
You're giving up all the money in the world to save Bruce.
Yeah.
That'd be like Alfred being like, wait a minute. If you get rid of the house, I got nowhere to live. Now I'm your big evil villain.
Yeah, not betray him to sell Wayne Tech. Like,
I'm not buying it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like something, and I think that was just that. I think they just hoped that you just go with it, and we did, and it's okay. Some people could say that's nitpicky. I don't feel like it is.
No,
I think it is.
I think it's a little more mustache twirling, cheesy.
Yeah, and I wish it wasn't, because the actor's great and he's a villain. I didn't want to see be a villain because I liked him so much. And when he goes bad, he's great at being bad. Everything he does is great in the movie, except the turn doesn't make sense to me.
I completely agree. I was looking through my notes here.
7 out of 10, I give it.
I should downgrade my score a little bit, because I do agree, because I was looking through my notes and I'm like, yeah, that's one of the parts I put on here. It's kind of like an overrated moment, is that the terrorists aren't really the terrorists.
This is like a bunch of gang kids. Like, sorry, boss.
Yeah,
it's like, where did you guys come from? You're supposed to be these scary guys. Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, exactly. So that I agree. That scene where, I mean, it's cool to showcase that device and what it could do and all that stuff. But you're not telling me that some other soldiers couldn't have walked in and like, you're done.
Yeah.
You know, like.
just something along the lines where they got him in a bind and they do something to him where he takes it out on Tony would make sense. You know, and I wonder if that's due to like their run and gun and shooting of this. Yeah. Right, okay, well, this is good, and do this and do that. And where, yes, this all works, but if in another movie, at another time, you don't get away with that.
Yep.
Yeah, for me.
Yeah, I agree. So, anyways, so that's moved on from that one. Now we're getting to the third act, the final act, and I'll read this little tidbit of what happens here. So it's basically Iron Man versus the Ironmonger. Stain completes his massive suit, the Ironmonger, and moves to eliminate Tony. After discovering Stain's betrayal, Pepper helps expose his crimes, but Stain retaliates by stealing Tony's arc reactor, leaving him to die. Weakened but determined, Tony uses an old prototype reactor to suit up one last time. The final battle erupts between Iron Man and Ironmonger, culminating in a showdown at Stark Industries. With Pepper's help, Tony overloads the arc reactor, powering the facility, defeating Stain. In the aftermath, Tony defies expectations at the press conference and publicly declares, "I am Iron Man," redefining what it means to be a superhero and set the stage for a larger universe.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so, Ike, in your opinion, did this ending land?
Yes. Yes. I'll start right out quick with, now that we've gotten past him being bad and we're just going to watch him be bad, he is awesome as a bad guy.
Yeah.
And he's scary and he's mean and he's going to get it done. Mm-hmm. And I like that this isn't like we're saving this. Well, they are kind of saving the city at the end in a way. But like, I like that it's it's not a world-defining moment of him being Iron Man.
Yeah.
It's all inside stuff. He's gonna put on the Ironmonger suit to kill Tony and kill her and take control and all that stuff, and he's just got to stop him from doing it. And I'm like, I love it, because with an origin, we don't need to go all our stuff in one basket. He doesn't need to save the world yet. Right, let's let him just save his own little spot, where he is, and so it's great. And the Ironmonger thing is scary, and I love it when he takes him up to space and it freezes, and it's so cool.
Yes,
some of it's really cool. It feels real clunky. Both of them do, which is neat because it should, And Pepper plays a good role in doing this, in helping at the end, and it is like he kind of. Blow it. I'm here too, but get rid of it because he can't have it, and so he puts himself in danger once again. We'll see that continue on in his life, and it's like it's a great ending. I love it.
Yeah. And by the way, just not to interject here real quick, but I just wanted to say, when you mentioned the going up into space and the freezing thing, it's important then in that Act 2 that you saw him testing out the suit and what its limitations are, what to do, because that was an integral role in the third final act when Tony purposely takes him up to space, and he says to Obadiah, how'd you figure out the freezing thing?
Yeah.
And he's like, huh? And all of a sudden, everything powers down. It also goes to show you, Obadiah, he made this bigger suit, but he didn't make this bigger suit. He got all the best minds in Stark Industries to mimic the suits and make it more big and scary and powerful looking and all that stuff. But it really was Joni.
Good old Joni.
Tony's genius.
Yeah.
The thought of all those other things, tested all those things out to see, all right, what can I fix and not fix, and what needs to be improved.
100%, which ultimately kind of showcases the idea that if he does have a superpower, it's about being smart.
Yeah.
Because you're not fighting Iron Man's suit when you're fighting him. You're fighting him that's created this thing to do these things.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we see that further, like in Civil War, when it's like, hey, you know what? Figure out his fight patterns to help me out. That's he knows to do that stuff. And Tony kicked Cap's butt because he's smarter than Cap, right?
Yeah.
And it's not because he's stronger or not because he can outlast him. It's because he's smarter. And just like in this, he outsmarts him most of the time.
Yeah.
Obviously, get towards the end, it's like you're still talking about an early version of the suits and all that, where and he learns all through the movies through his mistakes of, well, now I'm going to make it like this, now I'm going to make it like that, now I'm going to make it like this, and it's like now he's probably going to have like extra nanobots if he ever comes back again, because he ran out of them when he fought Thanos. So he would win, he would lose. I always looked at Iron Man as the Batman of, he's smart and he's rich and he can make stuff to fight everybody.
Yeah.
It's like Batman versus anybody wins, right? Batman versus anybody, he's undefeated, because if you give him a couple days, he'll figure out how to kill you. The cool thing about Batman is he knows how to take everybody out in the Justice League, right?
Yep.
And quickly.
And most of those are gods.
Right, and he still can take them out. And I give Iron Man the same kind of feel. Yep. Like he's got a Hulkbuster. He's ready for the big stuff, right? As long as sometimes he needs the introduction of it first, right? But great. And this whole deciding for him to stand there and just do this, I am Iron Man, is like the complete opposite of what you expect all these superhero movies to
exactly.
do.
I wrote that here.
Because everyone's got a face, and everyone's got a mask, and everyone don't know who we are, and it's part of a whole side story. And him doing that means you're just like, whoa, where could this go now? Because he's just out there. Like, not only he's put himself in a very bad position, dangerous-wise, but he just is like, and its part speaks to his ego a little. But it also speaks to, I think he doesn't want someone else to do it. I don't think he has to be the one. I think that's an act a lot of the time. This whole idea, it's me, I'm the best. Yeah, it's me, I'm the best. I think that's his mask of the PTSD. And I think that shows through there more. Because even in the future, he comes off cocky with everybody. Yeah, it's because I'm awesome, right? It's like, that's kind of how someone's acting who's got a mask on. That's beyond them. He's already wearing a mask. So the Iron Man mask is another mask. He's not going to do that. It's going to be, this is who I am, because you're not going to really know who I am.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Because who he really is who we see doing all these things that we get to see as an audience behind the scene.
Yeah.
But not, the only other person that gets close to him in real life is Pepper and Cap.
Yep.
To see the raw Tony.
Yeah. No, I
It's
completely
really
agree.
those two.
I completely agree. It's one of the things that kind of struck me when I was thinking about the movies that came out of that time of superhero movies, 2008 and everything. You think about all the movies of superheroes in this genre that came out before. Every one of them, they have a mask, or they're it's one of the things about them. Spider-Man, never reveal he's Peter Parker. X-Men, stay in hiding at the X-Mansion. Don't show if you show your mutant powers to the world, make sure they don't see who you are, type thing.
Yeah.
Because they wanna stay hidden.
Yeah.
Daredevil that came out from Fox, Matt Murdock, he had to put on the mask, all these different things. This is definitely one of those things where it was an unexpected character trope of what a superhero is. And yeah, fans of comics would know, oh yeah, he does that, that's cool. Heck, one of the biggest revelations in the Civil War comic book line is when Peter Parker shows to the world, I'm Spider-Man. That made a big deal. Obviously they didn't do that in the MCU, but
it did just differently though.
Yeah, but that was it was later revealed through Mysterio, all that stuff. But the thing about this is, to the wider audience at large, when your average moviegoer goes and sees they're gonna watch a superhero movie, they see him in a mask on, all that stuff. They're like, oh, by the end of the movie, they would never have guessed that he was gonna reveal himself to the world and so publicly. And so that statement, I am Iron Man, is much more than just him revealing himself to the world. It's starting to redefine what we as an audience are to think of superheroes moving forward. That he's kind of putting on like another face type thing, or being a face, I should say, to other potential superheroes to say, I can be myself and be a superhero and everyone can know about it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like he gave permission for future superheroes to come out of the closet, so to speak, of being a superhero.
And I would argue that this is the birth of a new person. This moment is. Yeah. He's someone that's gone through. And he's made now, solidifying what he had to do with Obadiah. To him, their relationship meant something, not to Obadiah, but to him it meant something. But I think that it's now he's made a choice to be this guy. That despite what I've been through, I'm going to be this guy and I'm going to own every moment of it, which is what we see going forward. And they, even, the big heads in charge of Marvel, understood how important that line was. Because his birth of who he is now Tony Stark as Iron Man is the new man you see going forward. His first words are, I am Iron Man, and his last words are what? I am Iron Man.
Yep.
And that's not a coincidence.
Yeah.
Going all the way to the end. It's a choice that he's made. That I'm being this guy now. And so he owns everything he does going forward. Owns it. Yep. Almost brutally honest. Which I don't think he was like that before.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And almost like it's like you said, it's like a rebirth, so to speak, of a new type of person. But also, for someone like him, it's painful to go through stuff like this, because he's revealing stuff about himself that he always kept hidden, because everyone just saw him as this playboy millionaire type guy. And
he sees it as taking accountability and responsibility. Yep. Not as it comes off as selfish ego, because that's what he likes people to think of him. But ultimately, he's taking responsibility of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, what would you say is the best moment in Act 3 for you?
I think we agree. When he says I am Iron Man, that's awesome. Yep. And I do like when he takes him to space and he says to him, how'd you fix this? That's one of my other favorite ones.
It's just a good moment. It's like, oh, wait a minute. Yeah. Oh, you're in trouble now.
But it's hard not to say this one because, once again, it's the last thing we hear of him, too, at the end of this whole thing. So, to me, it's it's iconic. Yeah. When I walked out of theater, that's what you're left with. I can't believe he just told everybody he's Iron Man. You felt like the woman did when she was sitting in a chair, like, what the heck did he just say? Huh? Yeah. You're almost like, should you do this in this movie?
Yeah. Well,
I almost thought it was a bad idea. I'm like, why would they do that? And I'm like, wait, that's awesome. Yeah, so, think about it. Yeah.
Sometimes it's just doing something that you wouldn't expect.
Yeah.
And then just seeing where the pieces fall after that. Worked. And that's why I thought that's got to be the best moment, is because I can never imagine them doing a Batman movie. At the end of Batman, he says, I'm Batman. You know?
Yeah.
You would not see that, because that's not how Batman operates.
Yeah.
Anyways, but yeah, so what would you say is the biggest issue for not just Act 3, but in the movie in total or anything? I really didn't have too much of a huge issue myself, because I also have to put into this perspective, this is the first MCU movie, so they have to make this as cookie cutter as possible to see if it's going to be appealing enough to make that 6-picture deal that they did actually worth it. So I think they played it safe for most of the stuff. They took risks, like with the Iron Man thing, just to see where they're going to go with it and all that stuff, but I didn't have a big issue really with the movie overall.
Yeah, I think if I were to pick some nits, maybe, so to say, maybe I would say the fight between him and the Ironmonger could have been a little more, but not as public either. So that's it. Other than that, it was good. Yeah, I don't
CGI wise, I think it held up really well.
Yeah, there's a couple moments I'm like, eek. But once again, I don't care, because it's the time too, right? Yeah. And it didn't hurt it at all. I would say maybe the fight felt a tad anticlimactic, where it's like, okay, it could have felt a little more dangerous, maybe. But that's being picky. That's a whole just me watching a movie. I may have added a few little more in there with him, but that's about it.
Let's see. For me at least, the climax I thought was a little bit earned. Yeah. I thought that a typical good guy versus bad guy fight. Good guy, of course, wins, and all that stuff. So I thought it was very cookie cutter, but I'm not saying that in a negative way. Like I said, if this was the 8th movie in the MCU, I would be a lot harder on this, because at that point, the series, the franchise has proven itself to not only be sustainable, but also be able to push these boundaries. And I think that Iron Man 1, the way they did it, they pushed the envelope on a couple of different things, which is really cool, especially trying to make it more realistic looking for us, or appealing, I should say, for us. But for this movie, I forgive a lot of that stuff, so that's why I say I'm fine with it. And I did give the third act a 10 out of 10 for the most part, just because I kind of expected it. So I wasn't disappointed.
Yeah.
If anything, it exceeded expectations with the revelation of something I'm Iron Man that you normally, when you go into a movie like this, wouldn't have expected. So.
Yeah. I'm going to save what I'm going to say for the hot takes portion of it. Okay. But I give it a 9 out of 10. Some of that's got to do with that. And the 9 I give it is, like I said, I kind of do feel like in the fight, I kind of felt like, okay. Oh, cool. Okay. Oh, cool. And I wish there was a little more spectacle, even if it was not as public. Yeah. So other than that, I give it the 9 out of 10. That and I still, it's the residual of he goes so bad, and I'm just, part of me's like, man, why? And it lingered with me, and I can't lie that it did. I want to say I was able to get past it and watch that third act, the end, and not think of it again and just accept it. But even at the end, I'm just like, why? Why? So it just bugged me, and it kind of felt like it was tugging that way. Yeah. Because even at the end, when he's dying, you're kind of like, oh, there's something there. It's like, why'd you do this? For money? Like, I don't. It's like it just really bugs me that I wish it'd been like, oh, because of what you were doing, it killed my kids or something. Like something to make him like, go, okay, I can see why you're upset. And maybe you kind of went crazy and you're doing something we all shouldn't do. Yeah. But at least there's a reason. Yeah. Because if it's the money, it's like this entire time it's been there. Yeah. I'm not a fan of that part of it. Yeah. Other than, unless maybe Tony was as bad as him, but they don't ever allude to him being that bad, so I don't know. Yeah. I don't think so. Yeah, they alluded more to Tony being more naive about his own company. For sure, because when he sees the Stark bomb, he doesn't know that, when Obadiah clearly knows that. Yeah. Yeah, and to me, that's like, so he's been bad the whole time? I don't know. I guess maybe that's where I need to accept that. I guess he has been a big douchebag the entire time, just good at being their friend. But as you get to know Howard even later on in the stories, like when we get to the other movies, they wouldn't hang out with a dick like that guy.
Yeah,
Howard wouldn't.
He's more Obadiah, in my view, from a retrospect of the whole thing. As we're talking about this, and as you're making some very valid points about it, it's almost like he was just more power hungry than anything else.
Yeah.
And of course, giving weapons to the enemy helps keep the business of war going. So it makes sense, and Stark Industries is the weapon business. So that part all makes sense. I don't know. I feel like the reason why he set up Tony Stark was kind of like how he said to take control of the company, because Tony, being a name holder of it from his dad, owned the majority of the shares or owned the majority of the poll or whatever. But so I get it.
Because you got to remember,
Yeah.
he didn't just turn on Tony when Tony decided he's going to change the company around and lose money.
Yeah.
He set him up from the start.
He did.
So it's like, when we look at the Howard that we see by the end of Endgame, because they do a great job at letting us get to know who Howard is, whether we see young Howard from Captain America and so on and so forth, not only do we have to accept that this guy's this bad of a guy this whole time behind Tony's back, but is that someone Howard would be friends with? You know? Yeah. Like, how long was this guy faking being a good guy? Mm-hmm. Did Howard know his weapons were going to terrorists? Mm-hmm. Right? Like, or did that not happen until after he died? Mm-hmm. And Obadiah just kind of stepped in and started doing that stuff? Which means he still was a sleazy douchebag? I mean, Howard didn't even like Captain America. He didn't even like Steve Rogers.
I feel like
how's he going to like Obadiah? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel like when it came to like either Howard and Obadiah or Tony and Obadiah, Howard obviously was a genius, and he got that passed down into Tony. So they're more of just like the face of it. They can make the stuff, so they could get their names on things, and they could get their patent done and all that stuff. Where Obadiah is more of like the business savvy type things, where he's going to keep the company afloat. He's going to be partners with Howard. He's going to then mentor Tony into getting a full on board position type thing or whatever, or, you know, like the leadership type role. But obviously Tony is a far fall from grace from his dad in regards to like the flamboyantness, I'm going to be dating different women, I'm going to go do different parties, you know, do all this stuff. He was just there more as the face and the name. So getting rid of that legacy so Obadiah could take on the full reins, I get that. It's just, I agree with you.
Why not
on
do it
some
to
points.
Howard, though, instead of waiting for his son?
Yep.
Like, what's the wait?
Why
this guy this whole time?
Yeah, why? Like I said in the beginning montage, that Howard and Obadiah were partners, and then when Howard's untimely death, Obadiah took on the reins until Tony became of age, and Tony stepped into his father's shoes type thing.
Most control.
That was when he was the most vulnerable.
It'd be a lot easier to kill a young baby Tony.
Yes.
Than an adult Tony and do this whole charade with the terrorists.
Yes. Yeah. So it's almost
It bugs me.
Yeah. So I can see where that would be like okay, you missed your opportunity and now this is what you're doing. Mm-hmm. So yeah,
it's a little nitpicky, but it's to be honest though. To be honest about it, right? Like it's what went through my mind watching it. Yeah. But when you hear my hot take, you might be surprised how I fix that.
Okay, all right. Well, anyways, to move on from that post-credit scene, what happens? Nick Fury hints at the Avengers. The purpose was to set up the Avengers. It was a huge payoff just a few years later. How important is this to the MCU? I put very, of course, because this is the foundation of everything we know of the MCU. For me, a hype level was 100 out of 100. Be like, oh my gosh, we're getting the Avengers. Which means you automatically know Captain America's coming up next. Thor is coming up next. Hulk's coming up next. Some of these characters that didn't even have a green light film yet. That we know of, at least in the public. So, to me, it's just a great post-credit scene.
Yeah.
Good first post-credit scene. Like Iron Man's the first good start of a movie franchise.
Yeah. I think it's got that going for it. When we get to the end of this whole thing, we start talking about, ranking the best post-credit scenes. It's going to be hard not to put this in the top 3 somewhere because it is the first time where you're kind of like, whoa, what does this mean? You know, are they really going to do what we think they're going to? There's no way, right? No way. And I actually was probably some of the reason why Iron Man made so much money. Because when I saw Iron Man for the first time, I didn't stay. Because I don't know what the hell a post-credit scene is, for the most part, right? Usually post-credit scenes were very rare in between. And I stayed. So I had to go see Iron Man again to see what everybody's talking about. Because at that time, we had the internet and stuff, but it wasn't as perfect as it is now. With you go on TikTok and find, clips of movies not made yet. You know what I mean? So AI and all that crap. But like right now, it's with that, it has that going for it. That and Samuel Jackson showing up, and you just and he says the Avengers Initiative or however he says it. I'm just like, that is awesome.
We're putting together a team.
Yeah, that's right. and you're just like, oh, this is, and you know what? That's for all the nerds. Anyone that doesn't know comic books probably would be like, oh, I don't know what that is, but that's kind of cool. But anyone that knew where this guy's from and what could be coming, you realized you just watched a movie where in this same universe, things like the Hulk are going to be around.
Yeah.
Like, what? What's this going to look like? And you just couldn't wait to see what that's going to be. So, yeah, because of the hype, of the timing of it, and it's a perfect, quick, easy, boom, gotcha. Couldn't wait to, bring the next. Right? Yeah. Excellent. 10 out of 10 for sure.
Yeah. All right, so some deep dives here. Casting and performances. Best performance, who would you give it to?
I'm going to give it to Robert Downey. Only because
Same.
I've seen him in a lot of stuff. I've liked Robert Downey back when he did Air America with Mel Gibson. And he was in The Fugitive with Harrison Ford. They made a sequel to it with Tommy Lee Jones called U.S. Marshals, and he plays a role in that, and he's phenomenal in that. A lot of people don't like him in that, but I love him in that. I even liked his little role he did in Gothica. I didn't care for Ally McBeal so much as a show, but I thought he was the best part of the show. And I know in all these times, there's somewhere in there he kind of got his troubles and all that. But when he kind of finally found his footing and came back and did a movie called The Singing Detective, it was really good. And they did another movie, which is probably the best mystery noir comedy ever made, called Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Hilarious, amazing. Him and Val Kilmer, some of the best stuff you'll ever watch. Highly recommend it. Then this happened, and it's like he just made this him. Like, and I love it, and I think he's great at it. And he's done great stuff beyond this, too. Yeah. I know not everybody likes the ones he's done. He did a movie, Robert Duvall, called The Judge, which is beautiful. If no one's ever seen it, you should watch it. It's really good. And that was in between his MCU stuff. Some call it failure because it just didn't make $1 billion. But it's still a phenomenal movie. Yeah, I think Robert brings it. I think he brings a believability. I forget I'm watching him. A lot of my favorite scenes in the MCU going forward is with him. Whenever there's time where they're just talking crap, I could watch it all. I could watch him and Bruce talk science stuff for... I wish they did mini episodes of them just talking random stupid science stuff, because they're just funny. They bounce off each other well.
Yeah.
I wish there was more of them guys just talking together. So yeah, Robert's great. I definitely give that to him for sure.
Your most surprising performance?
Jeff?
Yeah.
Because other than not buying him going bad, he plays bad real well. Real well. And there's a couple real dark scenes, and one of them we'll talk about when we get to that question. The couple dark scenes that you're just like, ooh, he went there. And about 3 times he does a couple things that makes me think, Yeah. About 3 times there's a couple things that makes me think, that's a scary person right there. And I just wish he earned that scariness, but we already went through that, so.
Yeah. All right. For me, for the most, I agree with you. For the best performance is RDJ. And remember, this is back in 2008. Gosh, I forgot how old I was. I was young. I was a kid. So I didn't know any of Robert Downey Jr.'s history before that. My introduction to Robert Downey Jr., probably like a lot of people, not everyone watching, but people of my generation watching it, would be Iron Man was their first introduction, because they only learn about his lows before that, and then all of a sudden he's Iron Man and now he's everywhere type thing. So anyways, for RDJ, everything you just said, I don't need to repeat it, but that's it. Most surprising performance, I would say. I had a mixture between RDJ, but then again, I didn't have anything to base it off of. So I put on there Gwyneth Paltrow, but you are more of a movie buff than I am, so you knew of some stuff she did beforehand, where, again, I was introduced to her in this movie. And so, yeah, I would say that she was... I liked her. I thought she was good, so I'm going to put her just to cement it in as my most surprising performance. That it was... Like kind of what we said already in the podcast, this is a female character that didn't do the typical female trope. She is a strong, independent woman on her own who chose to stay with Tony and see things through and help him along his journey, whereas she easily didn't have to, type thing. So, anyways, I'm going to say Gwyneth. Weakest performance. I'm going to start off.
Yep, it's okay.
And I am sorry, I do know a little bit of this actor, not too much, but he is a good actor. I just think he was not cast well for this role. Terrence Howard as James Rhodes. I think that, listen, his lines were good. I did not feel he, as a character for that movie, added enough that we needed him. And I don't mean that in a negative way. And I do feel like Don Cheadle played him drastically better. And I think that showed because in the second movie, not only did he get a bigger role as for Don Cheadle himself to do it, but the character had a little bit more oomph in him. Just in all of his line deliveries and all that stuff. So Terrence Howard did an okay job. But honestly, there's not a moment in this movie where I thought we needed him.
Okay.
And so that's not just the writing of James, too. I think that's also whatever was going on behind the scenes. We don't know exactly what it was. We hear something from Terrence Howard. We hear something from Marvel. We hear rumors, all that stuff. Regardless of what it is, there definitely was something going on that it wasn't that big of an impact, and I think it was felt in his performance. I think someone else playing James would have been better. And they ultimately did recast him, and I think it was for the better. And probably for the better for Terrence Howard, too, because he went on to do other big things, too, after that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, he didn't hurt from not doing it anymore. That's for sure.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So what was your weakest performance?
So this is where we're going to have another category later where we do talk about some hot takes. And I have 3 hot takes. And I can't get around it. The answer for this one is going to be a hot take. And my hot take for the weakest is Gwyneth Paltrow.
Okay.
So, and I'm not saying that in a bad way.
Yeah.
Let me make sure I'm clear. I think she's great in this role, and I said it earlier, I wouldn't cast anyone else. But I don't think the character's much of anything. And unless I'm going to believe my own fan theory that she has a background of being like him. But that's just a fan theory because nothing like that's discussed in the movie and forward. Because right now she's just a reactive, kind of weird, why would you deal with this guy kind of person. And where it works between them is why it's okay. But it just means, what did she have to work with? Just try to keep up with RDJ and we'll be fine. And that's what we got. And it worked because she did. And she's likable. And she's got a nice face. And she's a good enough actress to do what she did for this, or actor to do what she did for this role. But there's not much that was asked of her. And I think it kind of shows because there's not much asked of her in the future either. So that's my hot take, but truth, I do believe, out of all of them, it's still good, but it's the weakest.
Yeah.
As weird as it, because I can't think of anyone in the movie that really did a bad job. I mean, really.
Yeah.
They all did a good job. So.
All right, casting wins or misses. What would you say? Is there anyone that you would have... I mean, you know what mine was because of the weakest performance person I put in there.
Yeah, but. I hate to bang the gong and say that I don't have an answer, but I don't know. I think this is good. I don't think there's a problem. If there's any problem with any of the characters, it's all in the writing and not in their acting. Or cast-wise. I mean, Terrence, obviously, for you, I know this is going to fit under that. But that's going to be where I'll talk later about why I don't believe that either. So, yeah, for me, personally, I mean, you probably could have cast the guy for the head of the terrorists as a more recognizable guy. Because he really didn't do much. And he kind of later on gets a little annoying. But once again, that's not that actor, because I think he did great as an actor. It's the writing of who he is, right? It sucks.
Yeah.
You know, so, yeah.
All right.
I think that's as honest as I can be about it.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. So direction and production. We're getting close to the end, guys. So just
we'll hit through these quick.
Yeah, but director style and vision. What did you think of it?
Yeah, so I'm just going to tell you my whole gist of all these real fast.
Yep.
So director style. I mean, I love Favreau. I think he's great. He makes awesome movies. If you haven't seen Chef, watch it. If you haven't seen Cowboys and Aliens, it's kind of campy, but it's fantastic. Yeah, he's a great director. I think he's done great with Star Wars, even though you Star Wars people don't like it. I think you're stupid. I think he's awesome with it, and so I think I think he's great. I think that was the best choice. As far as I'm concerned, they kind of took a chance, and it's a good guy to take a chance with. You know, because he kind of delivers when it really needs to happen. The cinematography, it holds up well. You're right. You put it on here, it's good. There's nothing in it that makes me go, oh, I can't believe that shot. There's a couple moments where like that's a cool shot, but nothing stands out. I feel like he just was worried about getting it done, which is okay. Which kind of brings the action quality. It's good. It could have been a little more in some spots. CGI, it's good. You know, it's for its time, it's good. A couple times, I'm like, eek. But for the majority of the time, for him being in a suit flying around with planes and all that kind of stuff, it looks great. Music, it's You know, I'm not a big AC/DC fan. So it didn't make me go, awesome. But for the character, it's awesome. Yeah. So I'm glad it's his, and I'm glad they continue that trope with it. And the rest of the music, when it comes down to the theme and all that, it really isn't. There's nothing that sticks out to me that makes me go, "Ooh, I gotta download that and listen to it on my iPod." You know, but it doesn't hurt the movie either, so it's just fine.
I agree with everything you just said. I think the cinematography and visual effects hold up pretty well for the times. They're good for the times, and they hold up well even today. So I didn't that. See, the thing about CGI, too, and I put it was a good quality CGI, great quality, actually, in my opinion. A movie can have really poor CGI, but if the story is good enough, we tend to forgive some of the limitations of what computers and what they can do, and post-production and all that stuff. So even if this movie had poor quality CGI, the storyline was fantastic and good, that I probably could have overseen some of it. Depending on where the CGI was and how in-depth it was in the fight scenes type thing, it could make it a little hard to watch the fight scenes, but for this movie in particular, it didn't have that. It was still very good for the times. You could tell they definitely poured a lot into it, making sure they looked good for their first movie, make a good impression. So I think it was good. And director style, I agree with you. Jon Favreau, I didn't know of him too much before, other than I remember him being a side character, I think, in the Friends TV show. That was it, for like one or two episodes or something. Or if it was not Friends, it was Seinfeld. It was something that he was in a sitcom for a couple episodes with a boyfriend of somebody. But anyways, I didn't know he was actually a director too. And to your point about the Star Wars stuff, I feel like even the Star Wars fans that aren't really happy with Star Wars in general, I feel like everyone was happy with Jon Favreau doing The Mandalorian, the first Disney Plus show, because we wouldn't have had the Mandalorian Grogu movie coming out if that show really was as bad as some people think it was, type thing. And you could thank Jon Favreau for being the director and the creative genius behind that show. So, just saying. Other than that, I agree with your direction and production points of view on them, for the most part. All right, so hot takes. You already gave a hot take a little bit earlier about this. I really don't have much of a hot take, to be honest.
Okay, because I got two.
Okay, I'll let you do mine too.
All right.
Go right ahead.
So my first hot take is I think Terrence Howard is great.
Oh boy.
And I like him as Rhodes. I just don't think he's, like most other things in this movie, the writing is what was the problem. I actually think he would have been such a good Rhodes that we would have had a Rhodes movie of his own if it was him later on. And I will give, I'm going to tell you right now, Don, I'm sorry. I love you. I think Don Cheadle's a phenomenal actor, and there's things he does I love. But he just I don't think Don Cheadle, which we've seen, can't hold a whole movie.
I agree. That I do agree too.
And I, even in the stuff he's done on his own, I don't think he's held the whole movie. Some of my favorite Don Cheadle performances are in like very big casts of a movie. Mm-hmm. And I love him. I know he's be swearing at me right now, I'm sure, because I think he's great. He's made me cry. He's an actor that's made me cry. So he's a great. I put him on that medium list of definitely, if you're going to replace Terrence, Don's the best one, right? Mm-hmm. I'm fine with it. In fact, I love him as Rhodes as well. I do. But Terrence is just way better. Way better. And the rumor is there's a money dispute with him. Mm-hmm. Who knows what... I've also heard there's rumor that he's not easy to work with. Who knows? Because you hear other people say he's really easy to work with. So I don't know. But I've seen Terrence take an entire movie on his shoulders as an excellent actor. And if you're going to throw some really cool, twisty, like this is some real big, heavy character stuff, he'll take it and he'll do it. And he had done great. Yeah. I blame the writing for the fouls of what's in this movie for him.
Yeah,
personally,
I agree with your assessment that Don Cheadle, and I like him too. Don't get me wrong, Don. If you're watching, I'm sorry.
He's awesome.
But I do agree with you that I don't think he has the potential of holding his own movie. But also, War Machine as a character doesn't have the potential of holding his own movie.
A Terrence Howard War Machine does.
That's where I feel like they're trying to make us. If they do that, which it sounds like there's no official word that Armor Wars is canceled, which is supposed to be a Don Cheadle-led feature film, not a Disney Plus show anymore. So it may happen.
It could work.
It could. But
who else is going to be in there, right? Boom, boom. A bunch of people, right?
Exactly. I feel like you're going to get
a standalone of him before that movie.
I don't know if War Machine is warranted enough, and any comic book nerds out there that know more about than I do, please chime in, comment below on wherever you're listening. Send us a message where you think the War Machine would be a fantastic solo project that Marvel can do as a feature film. I don't see it.
You do an Iron Man movie where Iron Man or Tony's captured, and he's in a brilliant way figured out a way to communicate with Rhodes, and Rhodes has to be the one out there doing all the work. That's your movie with it, and you could have done it. And Tony wouldn't be Iron Man one time in a movie.
I feel like you're trying to do like not you personally, but like someone who would do something like this would be like trying to do a Falcon movie solo. Oh, they tried. They even put a different name on it. It still didn't do too well because, no offense to Anthony Mackie, and he can hold his own movie. I think Anthony Mackie can hold his own movie. It just... I don't think the character itself is just not worthy enough of a solo movie.
It is if the other character's still in the background, right? The problem with Falcon is he wasn't Falcon, was he? He was Captain America. Because I think there could be a good Falcon movie, but it's got to be shoved up our butts with Captain America. I might have to take that back with a good Falcon movie. There really wouldn't be.
Well, that's my hot take.
And I also don't think Anthony Mackie's good enough to hold a movie alone either. You know, I think he can do a TV show.
Twisted Metal, great. Yeah.
But once again, the people around him, how many around him makes it just as good. You know, so it's like with Terrence, I've seen movies where he's acted next to Ludacris, who's awful as an actor, and he makes him look good. Terrence is great. I just think he needed that. It just didn't work out.
Yeah.
You know, really.
That's true. Yeah.
And this is so early on where if it's not going to work out, now's the time to go. You know, because that's why we can get over Bruce Banner changing too, because it's so early. Let's get out of here, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I'm with you though. I think that's I think it's a good what if could have happened.
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
And it would have been fun. My other hot take is I would have, and I don't know if it's a hot take or if it's like we can call this the Isaiah spin if you want to call it.
Okay.
But my spin would have been I would not have killed Obadiah Parker at the end, or Obadiah Stane at the end of the movie.
Yep.
I'd have kept him alive, and later on in Civil War when Tony is looking at the thing, watching Bucky kill his parents, it's also revealed that he was the one that paid Hydra to kill them for the superhuman serum to make the money off of it. Because if we're going to make this guy evil all the time, he needs to be bad then too. So he did have his father killed.
I like that. Don't get me wrong. The only hole I see in it is kind of like what we already talked to before. If he would have paid for Hydra to send their super
or just
soldier
show
out
that
to
he
do
worked
that,
with them to do it.
why wouldn't
to
he
make
have
it
killed Tony too? If you're gonna kill the head but leave the kid still alive,
the only thing you could say to that is, if he thinks he's raising Tony like him, then it's him looking at his legacy and not Howard's anymore. And then you could arguably say all the bad traits Tony has came from Obadiah.
Okay. That's
so this egomaniacal, womanizing, not caring about people isn't Howard. It's Obadiah because he raised Tony.
Yep.
So there is love there. But then when Tony, but then I think the thing that would have had to change in Iron Man, or that the only thing that doesn't make sense, is he does set Tony up to get captured. But that could also be because the terrorists twist his arm instead of him being the one to do it. You could find out that they got something on him or something that he can't, he had no choice, right? Because it just would, you could still have Civil War be the exact same movie it was. Just add in that caveat of, how do you think that they found your parents?
Yep.
Obadiah. You could still have Bucky be the one that kills him and still have the exact same thing play out. But what neat, then you'd realize, oh my gosh, what a world we live in where what if Howard didn't die and he raised Tony? Tony wouldn't be who he is. Sure, things might be different. Obviously everything's happened for a reason, right?
Yeah.
But you could arguably say that by the end of the entire saga, we don't really have a sour taste in our mouth about Howard. We're led to believe it through Tony as an unreliable narrator who doesn't like his dad because he thinks his dad didn't spend enough time with him. When ultimately he only learned from a guy who was a piece of crap how to be a man. And that's why he was the kind of man he was before he went to the Middle East. That'd be my argument. I think that would just make that feel more wholesome and cool. But that's another what if, fun, could have been neat. Yep. He didn't need to die. Could have had a really cool scene of him talking to him in the next movie while he's behind glass. And just a real good, just a cool scene.
I can see that.
Yeah.
That is definitely an interesting what if to ponder.
Yeah.
All right. Quick fire.
All right. This is a good
question there for you. Best scene of the movie.
The whole cave breaking out sequence, I'm gonna say, I know it's multiple scenes, but I'm gonna claim from when he gets thrown in the cave and they tell him he's gonna make the weapon to when he breaks out. That is the best of the movie. The entire movie.
Okay. Mine is when Iron Man, as he's going out for his official first mission and saving the villagers.
Yep, great scene. Great scene.
I liked it. I liked the action in it. I thought it was well done. I thought it was a great shock to the world at the time to see someone's actually fighting back. Holy smokes, what the heck? They don't even know what to do. So that. All right, least best scene, aka the worst scene. I put on here, take it away, Ike, because I'm not really sure, but as we've been talking about it, I'm like, yeah, I can think of it. The terrorist scene where Obadiah is kind of the guy pulling the strings.
I struggled between two of them. I didn't write down the terrorist one, but the terrorist one is the worst one.
Yeah.
When you realize it's him doing it and they're just a bunch of punks.
Yeah.
This is dumb.
Yeah, if anything, they're supposed to be the 10 rings, and we later find out what the 10 rings really are, and it makes you think,
the 10 rings of
these
stupid.
are them?
Yeah.
Because there's no way that the real Mandarin would have ever let that happen.
Yeah, for sure.
No. Anyways, so that's kind of like, let's forget about that. So anyways, your best villain moment.
I think we have the same one. When he takes the reactor out of him and tells him what he's going to do.
Yep.
It's just, whoa.
The
darkness there is like, darn, dude. Which is that fuels my feeling of why, but because of how dark and scary that is why I fueled that. Because it's like, this is deep right here, and that's a guy that could have had his parents killed. Anyways,
yes,
just to throw that in there, that's a guy that would have been like, here, Hydra, you want this? Kill them, and you can have it.
Yeah,
just pay me the money.
I completely agree. Yeah, that is it's the best villain moment for me because at that point you know that arc reactor is keeping Tony alive or keeping the shrapnel from getting to his heart.
Right then and
so
there.
it's a dragged out scene when he takes that out. he paralyzes him. That's only supposed to last a couple of minutes, but in the midst of doing that, takes that out, and then at the same time says, "It's a shame you brought Pepper involved in this, because now I gotta kill her." And I'm like, oh my gosh!
Yeah, great.
That's and if he actually died from that, the last thing he could have thought of was, "I just killed Pepper." Yep. Yeah.
It's my fault.
Yes.
Still.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
and he and Jeff just kills it.
Yep.
Awesome.
All right, for you, most punchable face. I have a feeling.
I see you, Parodi. See, mine. You're gonna be surprised what mine is.
Okay.
So my most punchable face is the guy from A Christmas Story. Just punch that guy in the face.
Guy from A Christmas
He's the scientist that's with him. Remember?
Oh, him!
What an idiot! He's just duh. What are we supposed to do? Duh. It's like you are okay. I know you're not as smart as Tony, and that's why he's got a crew of you guys. But this guy acts like a freaking, and he just has that dumb face.
It doesn't exist. He did it in scraps in the cave. It exists. You're supposed to be the smart one. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I get it.
I'd be in line. I'd be in line. See it, dude. You're stupid. It's you and your stupid face. Like,
yeah.
And you're not a bad actor. Love the guy. And this isn't supposed to be. This isn't a mean-spirited category. No. It's mostly supposed to be kind of silly.
I agree.
And I see that guy. And every time I see him, when I saw him, I'm just like, God, I hate that guy's face right now. Like it's just and I don't like his face in the Spider-Man movie either. I don't like it. Yeah, so it's like
he comes back. Yeah.
Yep. So just punch that guy in the face.
Yeah, and I just put Rhodey because he's just my least favorite character of the movie.
Yeah, he bugs you. I get it.
So I was like, every time when I saw him, even when he was showing all the new recruits, and he's like, "Don't come in here." He's telling Tony how to act or whatever. I'm thinking, oh, just stop now. That's just I'm like. I like Terrence Howard. Don't get me wrong. I do like Terrence Howard.
I understand.
But I just don't think he was right for the role, and I think it just showed. But anyways, that's just me. My personal opinion.
It's okay.
All right. One prop you take home. You see what mine is. And it's probably something I don't know if you would have thought of this. But as I'm watching the movie, I'm trying to find something.
One. Go ahead and say that one.
All right. The silver Iron Man mask that has all the mathematics drawn on it. He has formulas on it. It's the one scene where he's watching the TV and he's looking through the mask and he pulls it out and for a brief moment you see it. I'm like, that's just a cool prop.
That is awesome.
Of anything. Like, you're never going to see it again. It's like the prototype, but almost ready for the final paint job of Iron Man. It's like perfect.
Yeah, I wish I'd thought about it, but mine is your second choice, actually. The proof that Tony has a heart thing is it's a great, you put it up on a thing.
Yeah.
It's awesome. You know, it's that, and once again, it kind of harkens to the future of what we're going to get into with it, too. Yeah. Because that's a great prop from later. And now, if we have it now, we don't have to worry about it later, because there's other stuff from that movie that we'd want as a prop, right? So, those two things, I mean, I'll be honest with you, if our podcast gets where we want it to go, we have a nice little shelf, I think we should get all these props. But the mask would be cool. Even if we got to make one, I think it'd be cool, you know? So, I love that. When you said that there on there, I'm like, wow, that's a great prop from that. Yeah.
See, when we have this question on here, I like to pick a little bit of the more obscure props that you see in the movie.
The fun stuff.
You're like, oh, you wouldn't have thought about that, but if you had it, that's pretty darn cool.
Yeah, I agree. You know? I agree. Yeah.
So it's no offense to you for picking the proof of Tony Stark has a heart.
Yeah, it's a pretty obvious one.
I would have thought, oh, that's the same thing. But as I'm watching the movie, I'm like, you know what? I don't see anyone taking that home because most of the time when people have a prop from set, they always talk about this like, oh, what did you steal from the set? You weren't supposed to be like, oh, I got a pinball machine or I got this big. What the heck is this? That would be mine.
I've always said like if this question was like with the Jaws movie, if I could pick any prop from Jaws, it'd be the killer shark game that you see in the beginning. It doesn't say Jaws or anything on it, but it's just because it's featured in the movie. Like, that is cool, right? and the only other thing I thought of for a prop, and I realized it's not really a prop, but it kind of is, but it'd be neat to have like a poster of the blueprints of the one he's building in the cave. Because like when he closes the thing on it and you see the layers of it, it's kind of neat when you see that, oh wow, look what he's making. You know, that'd be a cool poster. But I thought, but that one's kind of a given, and the mask is an awesome choice. Yeah, we'll have some fun ones probably as we go.
Another one that's part of the quick rapid fire. Most underrated moment you think?
Most underrated moment, yeah.
I put Tony building the suit.
The first one?
No, not the first one, because I don't consider that underrated. But I think about the people that don't want to see him going through all the testing. So all those moments of him building the actual Iron Man suit that we know of, I think people would easily fast forward through that if they weren't interested in it. I wish they don't, but I could just see that as I was watching the movie, and I'm like, that would probably, for me, the most underrated moment would be like, watch those little things. Yeah.
I think I agree with you there. I think the neat thing about this movie is I think most everybody likes almost everything in this movie, for the most part. The stuff I don't think is talked about more is how he handles the public as Tony Stark. Like when he sits down to have that, and he opens up the cheeseburger.
That's true.
You know, I think those moments should be talked about more about him as a character and understanding him going forward. That's what I would pick for something like that.
Yeah.
For sure.
I like that. Yes. Yeah. All right. Your most overrated moment, you think?
I agree with you on here. I'll let you tell yours, but mine is that one joke just didn't set with me. All the jokes of him building the suit are funny.
You've seen,
but that one that comes on that was advertised with it and everything. Yeah, I'm just kind of like, oh, that's the potty humor of Tony. I'm not a fan of because he's so much more sophisticated than all the other humor. So when he does one that's kind of a sexual innuendo joke, kind of makes me go, that's not how he talks to Pepper.
Yeah, I like that one better than mine. Mine is just that the only thing I could think of at the top of my head for a quick rapid fire was that the terrorists are not as superior as Obadiah.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah,
I feel like this is supposed to be the 10 Rings, and knowing what they would have led up to type thing, especially, made him look kind of puny for a guy who just owns a part of a company. You're supposed to be terrorists. Where's the terror part of it? So, anyways, funniest moment for you?
We agree on this 100%.
Anything with that robot
Anything
assistant.
with the robots.
Oh my gosh! Even
Every
when
time.
Tony was dying, and he's trying to get that heart thing, and then it just so gently leans down with it, and he's like,
Yeah.
Perfect.
But I do love the progression of how they don't understand when to use the fire extinguishers. Like, because there's several moments of different things that happen, and when there's no fire, they still hit him with it. When it's like, don't do it. I laugh so hard every time. Yeah.
All right, your most emotional moment that you would think.
Definitely when his buddy dies and he's talking to him, and the guy he's captured with. I can never remember his name.
Something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's big because that's like, it adds on to that level of PTSD that he's got, and then just you see in his face that's a moment of like, well, I'm gonna die doing this too, and I think he surprises himself that he even lives. I mean, when you can tell kind of when he gets out. And he's out there shooting the fire and all that stuff. That even when it shows the shots in the mask, that he's even kind of like, I can't believe I'm doing this right now. You know what I mean? Like I've got this far, right? And I think it's when he saw him die, it was so much more real in that moment for him. And that, to me, that's a sad moment, for sure.
Yeah. So when I read this question, I took at it for me personally. I should have taken it from the point of view of Tony or anything, but for me, the most emotional moment. And more of like a personal level is seeing the terrorists attacking and the kidnapping and knowing that stuff actually does happen in real life.
That counts as this, Sam, for sure. Yeah, because it's all, I mean, emotional doesn't always necessarily mean sad, right?
Yeah.
But to me, I just picked that. That scene, acting-wise, stood out the most emotionally in a way.
This, to me, was more of like a terrifying reality check of when you're watching the scene, like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. But then you realize, you're watching a fictional movie, but it's based on some real-world things that actually are happening at this very moment type thing. So that, for me, was a little more of a self-realization of, this is terrifying. Like, how's it going to go from there? All right, final scores. Story, out of 2, what do you give it?
2.
Okay, me too. Characters, out of 2, what do you give it?
2.
I gave it 1.5. Rhodey. All right. Action and visuals, out of 2, what do you give it?
1.5.
Okay.
I still feel like there could have been a little more action, and some of the CGI may be kind of but once again, it's nitpicky.
Yep. I gave it 2 out of 2. Emotion and stakes.
I gave a 1.
Okay.
And this is, I was going to either give the 1 to the story or the 1 to the emotion and stakes. And I decided to give it to the emotion and stakes because I feel like, for me, that is where it lands with my issue of the villain. Is what's his stakes in this other than money? Because I just don't buy him. I guess technically that could land under the story. maybe if I had to go back and do it, it doesn't change my score though. It just means it was in a different spot. Mm-hmm. So maybe it could be argued that that's a story problem. Okay, cool. Then I'll give Emotion Stakes a 2, but then the story's gonna get a 1. So it doesn't change my score at all. Okay. I may have put it in the wrong spot now that I look at it.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. All right. I gave it a 2 out of 2 because I thought the emotion and the stakes were pretty high for me personally.
Yeah, I got you.
All right. Rewatchability and MCU impact out of 2.
So I give it a 1.
Ooh, okay.
This is why. Yes, the MCU impact is huge, especially with like what I discussed with him going forward, right? Mm-hmm. The rewatchability is up there, although I will say there were times where I kind of was like, okay, let's get past this. Mm-hmm. And I don't know about you. Did you only watch the movie once this week?
Yeah.
I watched it 3 times.
Oh,
and
I step up my game.
Well, you don't have to.
I know. I'm just
trying to be. You know what I mean? And maybe that is by the third time was kind of like, eh. But no, even my first watch of it again was kind of like, yeah. I don't know if I could wait a while before I visit this one again. Mm-hmm. Like if I don't watch Iron Man 1 for another 5 or 10 years, I'm okay. Mm-hmm. I feel like I've seen it, and I'm cool with it. And if it was on, let's watch it. If we're doing a marathon, let's watch it. But if I'm home alone, I'm putting on Thor Ragnarok first.
Mm-hmm. You know, to that point, I was going to give it 2 too, but I do agree with you when it comes to the rewatchability factor of things that... I guess I think I graded this from what I remember for rewatchability as it still holds up type thing. Whereas rewatchability really is supposed to be, can you put this on? How often can you put it on without getting bored type thing?
Yeah, and I'm not saying you're wrong. Yeah. If you want to rate it on what you have it, you can, because you're not wrong. Yeah. The way I do see rewatchability is how many times can I watch this movie and not be sick of it? Mm. And I've seen Jaws 200 times. I have no desire to see Iron Man 200 times.
I get it. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like I've watched Independence Day more than I've watched Iron Man, and Iron Man's a better movie than Independence Day.
Oh boy.
But it's more rewatchable. It's
rewatchable, yep.
So it's like that's where that falls for me. That's why I give it a 1, where it's good. Mm-hmm. I don't want this is on the better of you remember when you and I talked privately about our top Marvel movies, which we'll get towards the end of this whole thing, but it doesn't mean it's rewatchable. But I do, I mean, look at F1 when we watched it the other day. That's my 10th time watching that movie since it came out. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just that it has a rewatchability for me that this doesn't have. So.
And that's true. A lot of that is...
it's very personal.
Very personal. That's just what I was about to say. Like, I've watched Fantastic Four since this came out. I can't tell you how many times I just turned it on, just pressed it, just because my love for the characters themselves, and that I'm so pleasantly surprised at how that movie turned out, because it could have been bad like some of the other past iterations.
See, I've only watched it once since it's been out.
Yeah.
But it's only because I did like it so many, the 2 times we saw it, I liked it, right?
Yeah.
So I've seen it 3 times.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I won't watch it again.
And of course, almost every X-Men movie.
It's way more rewatchable than this.
That's true. Yes. Yeah, so I get it. I would agree to that. Yeah. All right, so my final score is about an 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah, my final is a 7.5. Pretty solid. Yep.
All right, pretty close. So, let's see. So, the official Goodell Multiverse score for Iron Man 1 is 8 out of 10, the average.
I think that's fair.
That is fair.
I think when you're talking 1 being dog crap and 10 being the best, and that lands at 8, that's pretty good for this movie.
Yep. I think that you're right. That's a fair assessment of this movie.
Especially for the first of the MCU.
Yeah.
That's very fair.
Yeah. Your final score on the post-credit scene, though. I don't know
10.
why this is separate on here, but
that's okay.
I agree. 10 out of 10.
We're going to rank these as they go, too, so we might as well.
They're kind of like their own little subplot in and of themselves of, what... do they ever get paid off? Are they good enough to be a post-credit scene? And I know some of them are taken seriously, so we're not, or silly, I should say. We're not supposed to take them too seriously. But for this one, definitely it's a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, and you know what? I'd basing it off of not necessarily, because here's the thing it's got going for it is it's the first post-credit scene.
Yes.
So what else can it be, right? Because they're only going to get different as they go because it's meant to progress the story. Mm-hmm. But I think this is the perfect mix of there's somebody we recognize. Mm-hmm. He's somebody we recognize. Mm-hmm. Now he's a character we recognize. And he mentioned things that we know is coming.
Yeah.
It's a 10 out of 10 for what it actually is and not because it's the first.
Yeah.
I mean, if he just walked into a room and he stood up and says, "Hello, Tony, my name's Nick Fury," and they went to credits, this would be a 6. Because it'd be cool, Nick Fury. Mm-hmm. And nerds would be like, maybe Avengers. But this took the time to tell you that the Avengers is coming.
Yeah.
It's happening. And he stood up, not only said who he was, he said he's got a team idea, how you doing, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, sweet. Perfect 10.
Yeah. Well, how I view
post-credit scenes should be.
How I view post-credit scenes myself, personally, is similar to what you just said there. But also, I don't mind a funny that's just a throwaway post-credit scene. They're not bad. But the problem is if you do too many of them and too many of them in a row, you're going to lose your audience of, do I have to stay? Yep. Whereas the amp of a post-credit scene, or the purpose of one, is to show what could be coming next, either as a sequel to the movie you just watched or the overall what's coming up in the franchise type thing. Mm-hmm. So it's okay if you have one or two. Oh, Howard the Duck, that's a cute post-credit scene. That's okay. But if you do that too often, repetitively, you're going to lose people that would stay after post-credit scene because they're going to expect the next one's going to be just a silly throwaway post-credit scene. Mm-hmm. So that's how I view post-credit scenes. That have one or two, okay, is it warranted? Depending on the movie and what's at stake type thing. Or what they're trying to tell you for the future type thing. But if you do it too many times, then I'm going to flag you as, no, that's not good.
I also base it off its clarity as well. Because you got to look at it as, I don't know comic books. Mm-hmm. You're taking a risk of me already thinking that I know that there's a team called the Avengers already with this post-credit scene. But you went far enough to say the name of this guy, you got someone who's recognizable, and he says, I'm putting together a group.
Yep.
You know, to me, that's like, it's like next time on blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And it was great. You know, to me, that's where it works. As you find out as we go on in these movies, the post-credit scenes, to me, that I think fail, are the ones that, A, don't mean crap to what's going on, or B, I just don't know unless I'm a nerd.
Yeah.
You know, like when we meet Thanos' son later on. In what was the Guardians 3 post-credit scene?
Thanos' son?
Yeah, doesn't Harry Styles play?
Oh, that's his brother.
Brother, sorry.
Yep.
Sorry.
And Eternals.
Everyone just flipped lid.
They're like, what did I miss?
By the way, Sammy's the comic book one. I'm the one that's the movie guy. So that just proves, well, you knew that more than I would. You know what I mean? Like,
that's okay.
That just proves right there that I'm only going off what I see in the movies. And I got that wrong. So
that's okay.
Sorry.
We forgive you.
But yeah, no, but to me, it's like when I first saw that, I couldn't give a crap because I don't know who that guy is.
Yeah.
I get it. Okay, you're his brother. Well, that's got to be interesting. But gosh, you look nothing like Thanos, and I know there's a reason, but it's nothing I know as a movie watcher. Mm-hmm. And by the way, how long ago was that?
Oh gosh, years up.
So does it even matter? Are we going to see this person again?
Well, that's the problem with that whole Eternals movie is they just decide to forget about everything except that thing coming out, which they took a long time to pay off that. Yeah, it's like, oh my gosh.
So to me that's an example of a real bad one because it gets me excited for nothing.
Yep.
And by the way, it was for nothing because nothing's come of it at all. So
yeah.
At least with this one, we do get an Avengers movie.
Yeah, and it's paid off quicker than...
Way quicker.
Say this does get paid off for that Eternals post-credit scene. We're looking at almost a decade by the time that the second one comes out. Because we're getting
an old man.
Yeah. Anyways, so, yeah. All right, so... This says here, closing line, final verdict. One sentence, final review. Mine is masterpiece that was the perfect choice to start off the MCU.
Yeah, mine's similar to yours. I called it, though, a big swing that hit.
Yes.
and a good start to the Marvel Universe. Because truthfully, like I told you before, they took a chance with Robert Downey. I think they didn't think it was going to work. But because it did, look what we got.
Yeah.
Which we'll get to as we go.
All right. Oh, and speaking of which, then I think it's a good segue to say thank you to everyone who's tuned in to our podcast and is watching us. I know we had some technical difficulties with the camera. Most of that is user error, my fault. I'm gonna take full responsibility for it. But thank you for joining us in this second episode of the Goodell Multiverse podcast. Next week we're gonna come back to you and we're gonna do a retrospect on the Incredible Hulk film. That's the second movie of the MCU, and I'm sure we got a lot to talk about there. But also, we might not do any of the Marvel news because the second thing we're going to talk about is Daredevil Born Again Season 2, Episodes 1 and 2, dropping the same time. So we're going to try to do start off just a recap of that or our initial review of that, and then go right into the movie.
Yeah, unless something drops for news-wise that's huge, we'll probably just do Daredevil in the movie.
Yep, like Halle Berry confirmed a Storm in Avengers Doomsday.
You'll have to talk about that.
We'll have to talk about stuff like that.
Or Sadie Sink is confirmed as evil Jean Grey in Spider-Man.
Yeah. Oh, if that happens...
Then we might have to do Hulk next week.
Yes, yes. If that happens, we just have a whole episode just to that. And
to hear us complain.
Yeah, and you will hear it. Because, I don't know. Anyways, thank you guys for tuning in. And hope you enjoyed this episode. Please subscribe to our podcast wherever you stream. Subscribe to our YouTube page, like our social media pages.
Hit the like button.
Yes, help get us up there with our likes and our subscribers and engagement. It helps us out tremendously. We're just doing this for fun, and we hope you had fun listening to us. And let us know in the comments below what you guys thought about Iron Man 1. What did you think? Did we make some good points? Did we not make some good points? Do you feel the same way? Or if you really, really hate some of the things that we said, let us know because we want to get the general reaction.
And if you're constructive about it, we might just talk back with you.
Exactly.
We're not going to pay attention to any of the crap. But other than that, we'll go for it.
Yep, exactly. So please like and share this podcast with a friend, with a family member.
Please.
And until next time, see you at the movies.